The Astros' 40-man roster has spots available. Who will be in the big leagues on opening night? Bo Porter hopes to get some answers as the Stros take on the Washington Nationals. Next, right here on Comcast Sportsnet. From Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee, Florida, it's Houston Astros spring training baseball right here on Comcast Sportsnet Houston. As today, the Astros host the Washington Nationals. Hi, everybody. Alan Ashby with you and joined by another one of the newcomers. That's Jeff Blum. And, Jeff, I'm sure you're enjoying our spacious new broadcast booth here.
It's good that you guys are breaking me in early, putting me right behind the pole, but it's going to be fun this year.
It should be a lot of fun. The Astros had some fun early in the spring. They've hit the skids a bit lately, losing 3 straight. The team enjoyed an off day yesterday, except Bud Norris, who pitched 4 innings against some minor league hitters. The day before, it was Lucas Harrell. He pitched 4 innings. They're setting up as the team heads toward the middle of the spring. Now the question is, who will the other 3 be in that starting rotation?
And today we get to see Phil Umber go out there and make a case for himself. Also working back is Eric Bedard from injuries, and John Eli and Alex White, who have taken a beating early on in spring and looking to make a case for and finish strong this spring.
Coming up, it is the Houston Astros and the Washington Nationals coming your way next, right here on Comcast Sportsnet Houston. We've got a gorgeous day here in Kissimmee, Florida. The Astros come in a 500 ball club, 5-5 with a couple of ties, rather. Washington 5-4 and a couple of ties for them. And now it's time for our Washington Nationals starting lineup presented by TXU. You can see it. Denard Span, acquired by these Nats over the offseason. Speedy center fielder leads it off, followed by Danny Espinosa. Bryce Harper, Rookie of the Year last year, and what a terrific talent he is. Having a great spring. Wilson Ramos, Ian Desmond, Chad Tracy getting a lot of work at third base. Tyler Moore, Kurt Suzuki behind the plate, and Corey Brown will be in right field.
And on the mound for the Astros is Phil Umber. Big, tall, strong, right-handed Texan. And he's having a modest spring right now. He's looking to make a move into this rotation, and he's picked a pretty daunting task taking on the Washington Nationals today.
These Nationals, Jeff, winners of the National League East last year, a ball club that, for me, when I got to see Washington play during the course of the season, they looked about as good as any team I saw, certainly at that point that I saw their club. Talented bunch. Phil Umber set to work it, and the first pitch of the ball game bumps that heat right through, and I know that's something Doug Brocale, the pitching coach for the Astros, would love to see more of. This Astros staff has been struggling throwing strikes, and they've been struggling when they put the ball in play because the defense has had their struggles as well. Little check swing on the foul ball. 17 errors committed already, and no matter what you do as a staff, trying to put things together when the defense is struggling, just going to have a tough time. That pitching is a big aspect of what the Astros need to do to get better this season.
Yeah, and if your defense isn't making plays behind you, it makes that much more stressful for the pitcher.
Umber gets ahead 0-2 and induces another foul ball. Well, you can look at what the Astros did a year ago. They were dead last in runs scored around the major leagues, number 30. And right near the bottom, just a spot out of it in terms of runs allowed. Ball club that allowed 211 more runs than they scored, and that does not set up for a good season. So there's a lot of turning around to be done this year. Umber once again with the 0-2. You talk about defense, and Bo Porter has had his comments to make in that regards. This is the thing, either you make the plays or you're going to find someone who's going to make them. And that's just speaking directly to the team. Not hard to figure out.
And I think it's a good thing. These guys need to realize that there's a unique opportunity here with the Houston Astros to make the team out of spring and have a chance. And if you go out there and make the plays, you know you're going to have a chance to impress Bo and go out there and play a Major League Championship season.
You can talk to anybody around the game. Doug Brocale can tell you. Bo Porter can tell you. If you don't get the defense behind that pitching staff, it's likely to be a long, tough season. So the defense has been worked on hard as Umber misses just off the corner. When you come out to the ballpark like today, and a great day on which to work here in Florida, what we saw prior to batting practice, you don't see around a lot of Major League camps, certainly not all the time, but it was a full-out infield workout where every play had to be perfect or they did it again. Here's a drive to right field. The wind not blowing today, a wind that up until today has driven that ball out of the ballpark. We look at that defense for the Astros. That's J.D. Martinez in right field.
And Justin Maxwell in center field, going around. Just Chris Carter in left field, making an appearance out there. Brandon Laird at first base. Jose Altuve at second. Tyler Green shoring up the middle at shortstop.
Umber gets the first out and starts with a breaking ball this time. And that's one of the things with pitching. A lot of people will say, well, pump that first pitch fastball into the strike zone. If you get the chance to look around at what Major League hitters do to the first pitch, you'll find some pretty lofty numbers. And I think a good part of that is because hitters will go to the plate. They'll watch pitchers, and the talk goes around the dugout bench. Well, he's going to throw you first pitch fastball. So you go up there, you turn up the dial as a hitter, and you try to hang something out. Another ball hit in the air, this one toward left center field. The wind has picked up now a little bit toward the right field corner. So some fly balls in that direction and toward left field going to be cut down pretty severely here this afternoon. The wind that we've seen prevail throughout the spring has been toward right field. So with two down, it brings up Bryce Harper. That was Danny Espinosa, the second baseman for the Nationals, flying out. Bryce Harper, Rookie of the Year from a year ago, and what a special talent he is. He pops it on the left side. In foul territory, Dominguez, gifted third baseman, makes the play in a nice 1-2-3 inning as we watch Philip Umber make a big step forward. righty left-handers now. Strung together quite a season in that first with Washington. 21-8 on his season, 2.89 the ERA. And there's a good reason. You find that guy that'll spot that inside corner for the second strike.
Looks like Maxwell's maybe looking out over the plate with two runners in scoring position. Maybe Gio's going to try and get him to roll over a little bit, but Gio's being aggressive coming inside with that fastball.
Gonzalez third in the National League in the Cy Young voting last year, and he gets the strikeout in a key situation. That's that costly second out. And now with two down, it's in the hands of J.D. Martinez.
Yeah, it's tough that early in the game. Infield's playing back, giving into the run scoring right there. You're looking to just hit a ground ball up the middle, but Gio Gonzalez makes a great pitch with that two-strike curveball.
It's one of the things about Justin Maxwell. Bright, young man, has great tools, but he strikes out a lot. And you get the men in scoring position. Can you afford to have that big strikeout guy in the middle of the order and maybe costing the second out? I say that's probably overstated, simply because a lot of the guys that drive in 100-plus runs around Major League Baseball will also strike out a bunch. And there's the chance to get out of the inning for Gonzalez without any damage, and he does so as he induces the ground ball to shortstop off the bat of J.D. Martinez. We played one inning and we're scoreless. ...2013 is a whole new ball game for the Houston Astros, and season tickets are available right now. To learn all about the exclusive benefits and pricing, or to get your season tickets today, call 1-800-ASTROS2 or visit astros.com. Spring training baseball. And the Astros have Philip Umber, right-hander, who is vying for one of the starting spots in the rotation out on the hill. He induced a 1-2-3 first inning to these Washington Nationals. He'll face the 4, 5, 6 hitters. Wilson Ramos, the DH, stands in. As Umber tries to get ahead, he misses off that corner.
And I think it's pretty obvious that Humber has the stuff to pitch in the big leagues. I mean, apparently, obviously a perfect game under your belt makes you feel pretty good about yourself.
There's the high chopper at third, and a tough play. Dominguez is a gifted third baseman and gets some help on the other side now as Brett Wallace is able to make that play, applying the tag. That's actually Brandon Laird at first base. So Laird with a little athleticism.
I'm going to say Laird did a good job. This is a tough play for the third baseman on a high chop, moving backwards and then trying to redirect your throw over to first base. But Laird does a great job of coming off the bag and recognizing the bad throw and putting the tag on him and saving him an error.
Here at Osceola County Stadium, that sun is on the first base side, and it creates a really tough play for a third baseman looking up on that high chopper. Brings up Ian Desmond, the shortstop. He has a big rip as he fouls it back. Well, that's the one note that you hear continually on Matt Dominguez at third base, is that he can play that position, and that maybe before his career is out, he's going to collect some gold gloves along the way. Umber allows the hot shot to second base. Right there is Altuve as he plays incorrectly. So Phil Umber has retired the first 5 hitters that he's faced. Defense right in position to get that last out, but he's had success all along the way. He was a winner at Rice as his club won the College World Series back in 2003. He was a big part of that. 3rd overall pick in 2004. And, of course, the 21st pitcher ever in Major League Baseball history to throw a perfect game. That came last year.
And won the clinching game in that 2003 World Series. So he's got a pretty good amount of experience in some tough situations under his belt. Expect good things. Hopefully being back in the state of Texas will do him some good, too.
Pitch is popped up. He is moving right through this Washington lineup as Chad Tracy pops to the shortstop. And another 1-2-3 inning beautifully done by Philip Umber. We're scoreless through an inning and a half. Gio Gonzalez starting to get it loose. Say 2013 is a whole new ball game for the Houston Astros, and season tickets are available right now. To learn about all the exclusive benefits and pricing, or to get your season tickets today, call 1-800-ASTROS-2 or visit astros.com. Now, Gio Gonzalez continues to toss in the dugout for the Astros. They sit back in the shade, and I'm not sure why. We sit in the shade here in the booth, and the breeze is coming in a little bit chilly, so maybe a reason for a few coats you might see. You get out in the sun, and it's quite nice. Jeff Blum and I in the booth enjoying things today.
Yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing about being in those spring training dugouts. Usually the top rail on these days is taken by the older guys, and the rookies have to wear it and sit on the bench and freeze a little bit.
Isn't that the way it goes?
That is the way it goes.
Veterans, they may be hitting about 170, but they'll walk the walk a little bit.
Yes, they will. And knowing that 170 in spring training doesn't always translate into the regular season, thankfully.
In the spring, it's all about if you're hitting for a low average. Well, I'm just getting loose and getting ready for the bell to ring. And usually, when you're hitting about 450 this time of the spring, you're saying internally to yourself, "Hold back, just save a little bit of this stuff, will you?"
Yeah, the older you are, the less hits you want to get in spring because you know those bullets are running out. Yeah. You don't want to spend them too early.
Yeah, they're hard to come by. Nate Fryman leads it off after a first pitch called strike. It swing and a miss on the changeup and down on the count quickly.
This is a large human being.
He is a big man. You get down on the field with Nate Fryman and you realize, even if you're Jeff Blum standing at about 6'4", that you're not all that big. There's the line shot, and he hits the breaking ball into the gap in right center field. Big turn at first base. So the leadoff single. The Astros saw a couple of hits in the first inning, including a one-out double by Chris Carter that put runners at second and third at the time, and they failed to score.
It's a great piece of hitting. Gio probably got a little more of the zone than he wanted to with that breaking ball. But a great shot right there, seeing his head down on the ball, going the other way, not trying to do too much.
Here's the one thing I've heard about Nate Fryman. And again, he's 6'8". A Rule 5 pickup from the San Diego Padres, and that completely dazzles me. I can't imagine how the Padres could let this guy get away with the power potential he has. But the one thing you hear is that he not only has very good power, but a really good hitter, and we saw it on that pitch.
Yeah, he made that very apparent on that 0-2 backdoor breaking ball in the outer half and just goes with it.
Brandon Laird stands in. He's the first baseman in this lineup put up today by Bull Porter against left-hand pitching. And might this be a glimpse of what the Astros are looking to do as they get toward the season?
I think it's a pretty good idea. It's nice that Bo Porter has a deep enough bench to be able to put a right-handed lineup out there and give some guys some rest, especially against a tough lefty like Gio Gonzalez.
Pitch is popped up on the left side, and you can see from the reaction of the infielders, tough sun. Shortstop says, I am not even going to bother trying to take this one, and leave it up to the veteran second baseman Espinosa. That's the first out of the inning.
Yeah, that left side of the infield shut it down and said, you take it, you take it. But I'm sure that Espinosa coming across the field at that angle took the sun out of play.
Again, that sun on the first base side here at Osceola County Stadium. And so if you can get the sun off to a side or to your back, certainly to your advantage. With one out, Fryman still at first base. It brings up 8-hitter Carlos Corporon. Jim Crane, owner of the Astros, is going to join us next inning, and that should be good. A chance to find out maybe some of his impressions about this ball club at this stage of things and where the club may be going.
Should be interesting. First day in the booth, and you guys put the owner on me. This is going to be fun.
You got all the questions, Jeff.
Oh, I'm ready.
Lay the heat on him.
I say maybe more golf questions than it will be baseball, but
ground ball to third, handled by Tracy, and they start the 5-4-3 double play to end things. So, despite the leadoff single by Nate Fryman, the Astros do not leave a man. They've had 3 hits, unable to get on the board. In the sun. It's a scoreless ball game. The Astros with all 3 hits here on the afternoon. 2 of those in the first inning. Jose Altuve, a 1-out single. Chris Carter followed with a double high off the wall in right field. But the Astros then failed to score as Justin Maxwell struck out. Leadoff single by Nate Fryman in the second inning. It is just beautiful here this afternoon. It could, for some taste, warm up just a little bit more, make things nice.
That would be nice, especially if some of it flowed up in here into this booth. Made it feel like spring instead of a cold winter day.
I am all about the flow in spring training.
Flow is good.
Yeah. Philip Humber has worked through 2 scoreless innings. In fact, the Washington Nationals yet to have a base runner against Humber.
Yeah, so, doing a good job of hitting his spots.
Yeah.
I don't, a lot of pitchers go through that dead arm phase. I don't know if this is it for him, but he looks pretty on spot today. Sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. It is a lovely day, and I think Phil Humber, if he can get through a couple of more 1, 2, 3 innings, will tell you it was possibly the best day of the year so far.
I agree, and a good time to do it. Got the owner coming up into the booth. Bo Porter asking a lot out of his pitchers. And it looks like he's listening to Doug Brocail, which will be nice. Make those conversations a little bit more comfortable.
Jeff and I had a little chance to chat and listen to Doug Brocail before the ball game today as Phil Humber brings a strike to start things. And this is one of the things that I think Doug and staff would really like to see happen. Some early strikes, some short at-bats, and some quick work by the pitchers. There is Doug Brocail. He is the second-year pitching coach for the ball club. Keeping a close eye on his pitching staff, but he really would like to see these guys dial it up just a little bit.
Well, I think it's good, too, to have a guy like Phil Humber up there. I mean, he's got a lot of big league experience, and on a staff like this where its experience is kind of limited, it's nice that Doug has this guy to go out there and kind of prove what he's preaching a little bit.
Ball hit in the air toward right center field. Wind really not doing anything to help balls in that direction right now. And there's that first out, and now 7 in a row retired to start the ball game for Philip Humber. They follow the Astros this spring and all season long with MLB.com at bat for your iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and Android devices. Jeff Blum right here has all of those in action. At Bat delivers spring training baseball wherever you might happen to be with the scores, stats, searchable video, live audio, and a whole lot more. Text At Bat to 31826 or visit Astros.com for all your details. And as we promised, Jim Crane, owner of the Astros, coming up to join us. He just now sits in. And everybody here in the booth paying attention closely. Jim, welcome to the booth and welcome to spring training.
Thank you, Alan. It's a great day. Nice day.
It is a gorgeous day. Philip Umber, we were just talking about getting the start here this afternoon, trying to become one of the guys in the starting rotation. And obviously, he would like to have some strong days. Here he starts out 7 straight outs against a very good club in the Washington Nationals. And don't know how much you focus on the day-to-day activities of the club during the spring, and maybe tell us a little bit what your approach is.
Yeah, no, we've got some good folks here running the team. We're really excited to have Bo in here in his new team. You know, that's our focus day-to-day. Certainly we're watching it back in Houston. This is my second trip down, the first game to watch. But we're really hoping a lot of these young pitchers come around, and Humber has a lot of talent, and, you know, threw a no-hitter last year, so hopefully he can get a tweak, maybe a tip from Roger, and get back to that no-hitting situation. But we're very excited about the young pitching.
That Roger Jim Crane is talking about. Roger Clemens has been in camp a couple of times. Jose Cruz presently in camp. Craig Biggio coming in next week. So some pretty good tutelage going on for the Astros as Kurt Suzuki, the catcher for Washington, stands in and sees the count now run full. But it is nice when you can bring Roger Clemens, Jose Cruz, Craig Biggio into camp and talk with the players and give them the advice that obviously at this stage of things the guys need. Umber with that 3-2. It's fouled down the left field side. You know, to get off the subject a little bit, Jim, of baseball, and baseball really is the subject right now for everybody here, certainly in Florida. You've had a chance to, and I know you're a big golfer, and you own the Floridian over on the other side of the state. You've had the president in recently. I guess he's been in a couple of times playing golf.
Just once.
Just once? Okay, well, maybe the reports are a bit erroneous. Tiger Woods came in to play with the president. Did you get to play with Tiger on that trip?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough. The president called and wanted to bring a group down and play over the weekend, and so we certainly said yes. You couldn't tell the president no, and then he invited Tiger to come on play, so I got to play with the president, Tiger Woods, and Ron Kirk, and that probably won't happen again, but it was a lot of fun. The president's an avid golfer. He's a good golfer, and he likes to play, and I think he got to relax a little bit, so that was great.
Well, I know you got to play in the Pebble Beach out west recently and finished second, a very disappointing second in that tournament. I don't imagine Tiger was able to beat that kind of stuff, was he?
Well, Tiger wasn't there, so
I mean, when you guys matched up down in Florida.
Well, the president picked Tiger right off the bat, so I was stuck with Ron Kirk. So I told him, I said, you know, you have a little advantage. You're going to have to give us some shots. So they gave us a few and still beat us up pretty good. But the president was a lot of fun.
Local course knowledge maybe not paying off all the way. There's the fly ball as Umber continues to battle in that at bat with foul balls on 3-2s a couple of times, and finally gets the out in left center field. Chris Carter acquitting himself well with that tough Sunfield. 2 quick outs. That's the way it always goes when you get the owner up in the booth. What do you think as you watch the club right now?
Well, I think, you know, we're very excited about all the young players. You know, we've got a lot of young talent assembled here, and hopefully, you know, 6, 7, 8 guys will be the nucleus of the team moving forward, and that's what we're hoping, and I think they're out there. We just got to figure out who they are.
What sort of impressions do you have of Bo Porter now in the early part of his tenure?
Well, we really liked the speech he gave the guys when they kicked it off at the first of spring training. You know, Bo's very candid. He's very upfront, and he, you know, tells you what to expect, and you know, he delivers on that. And I think, you know, he's holding everybody accountable, and I think there'll be certainly we feel a lot more intensity in the camp, and I think you'll see that translate back in Houston when we get started.
Certainly an energetic guy. Corey Brown stands in, gets jammed and pops one on the left side. Umber trying to make it 9 straight, but can't get it done as the little jam shot pop-up drops in shallow left field. And with the legging effort by Corey Brown, he has a 2-out double. That's the first hit and first base runner for the Washington Nationals.
Good hustle by Corey Brown right there. It's good to see in spring.
Of course, you hit that little pop-up down either side, and a lot of times it results in the one that drops.
Never like to see how the play ends like that, with him diving into Altuve, jarring him a little bit, but hopefully he's all right.
I hit many a ball like that in my career. Not many of them dropped, however. Isn't that funny how you play this game for years and you feel like every line drive you hit was right at somebody, and every little tweener, every dribbler in the infield. Of course, I had no chance on those either, but the defense seems to find a way.
Those are the stories I'm going to start working on now. start building the legend a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, Jeff Blum, I think we might get a chance to take a peek at it with rather famous home run against the Astros. Came, I believe, in a World Series game, if I'm not mistaken.
I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah, I bet you do vaguely remember. You probably have photos all around the house with that.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2-out double has a man at second for Denard Span. Span takes his starting strikeout.
I like Bo Porter's energy and stuff like that, and I think he did a good job with the staff. But I've read a couple articles about you, Jim, and some of the hires that you've made in the front office, and you guys are taking more of an analytical approach to baseball, as opposed to Bo taking care of everything and all the characters in the clubhouse and stuff like that. But you guys are taking it one step further and going into the computers and checking out a lot of tendencies and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, it all stemmed when we hired Jeff. I mean, he did a lot of that type of work for the Cardinals. I think we're really working on the combination. We've got very technical people. We're developing our own computer programs and systems to really have a system that we hope is better than anybody's out there, and Zig's getting that done. And, we hope to combine that with good coaching. And, we've also expanded the coaching in the minor leagues. So, we really want to develop our talent, put our energy there, and then have very good information to make good decisions.
And, of course, with expanding the coaches on the minor league side, Morgan Ensberg, Adam Everett, former Astros and great players in their own right, now a part of that coaching staff. And it just looks to me like you're trying to add as much quality as possible for these guys to work with.
Yeah, bringing back, Craig and the really good players that played for the team, I think are going to add a dimension we didn't have last year.
Got a line shot atom ball to center field for the final out. So Philip Umber, despite allowing that 2-out double, gets out of the inning. Jim Crane hopefully coming back with us in the next half inning. We are back. It's a scoreless ball game. It's really nice to say it's been well pitched to this point. 1 hit for the Nationals, 3 for the Astros. We've been talking about Bo Porter quite a bit, as Jim Crane is still with us in the booth. And Bo Porter recently talked about rebuilding, although he didn't say that word. He said, I didn't even know that word existed in the dictionary. I haven't used that word not one time since September 27th last year. That's when he came on. And now I'm planning on not using it again. So if any of the reporters use the word rebuilding, he just says, what does that mean? I don't even know. So he doesn't talk in that direction, Jim. And again, Jim Crane, owner of the Astros, still in the booth with us. Does that fit into what maybe you had hoped as you brought Porter on?
Well, Porter doesn't use that as an excuse, so he's very focused on, you know, the guys working hard and developing their talent. And, you know, he put mirrors on the lockers when we first came in here, when he first addressed the team at spring training. He said, you know, you got to look at yourself, and it's all about getting the job done and what's expected of you. And, you know, he set the tone early. One of the speeches he gave, which I really loved, is he said, guys, there's no more excuses. What happened last year is over. And he made everybody turn their chair around and go the other direction. He said, we're not going to look what was behind us. We're going forward. So get your chairs turned around. We're going this direction. It was a great speech. So Bo's very good with the guys and getting a lot out of them. And I think that energy will translate well for us.
I would say one impression that I have in watching things as Matt Dominguez leads it off, the 1-1's inside, is that the players, and in particular the veteran players, are buying into what he has to say.
Well, he needs a few of those key guys to buy in and help with the young guys. And you know what we're seeing right now is what we really wanted to happen. Is there's continuity, there's buy-in, and everybody's rowing in the same direction. And that's how you start to build a team and get the franchise headed in the right direction.
And I think it's a good thing as a player, too, knowing that your manager's not giving in, because sometimes that term rebuilding is a sign of surrender. We're going to give in on the season. We're rebuilding. You guys aren't our guys, and we're just going to move forward after this. So I think it's a good thing that Bo removed that from that clubhouse and allowed these guys to understand this is the future right now, that these guys are going to be a part of it.
Dominguez takes inside and draws the leadoff walk. So the Astros with their fourth base runner already now, and trying to make something happen as they go back to the top of the order with Tyler Green. Well, I don't know how to ask this question anymore since we don't have a word, the rebuild word. We can't use that around here, but is it tough, Jim, to have patience with this ball club now as you look to this young club that's trying to get things turned around from two straight seasons where they've lost over 100 games?
Well, it's certainly something we don't want to see again this year. But, you know, I was sitting with the Washington owners, the learners, just a minute ago, and I said, you know, just 2 years ago, the Washington was pretty much in the same spot.
Yeah.
You know, they were able to bring in some big draft choices and get some good pitchers and complement that with some field players, and you know, here they are, one of the best teams in the National League. So it can happen a lot faster than you think it might, and that's what we're hoping for. But we are going to stick with the plan. We are going to work the plan and develop this young talent, and we're also going to keep that you know, minor league system stock, so we never retreat back to where we got with these 100 losses per season. That's not good.
Look, nobody wants to finish in last place, but there is one thing you can say about that, is there's a 1-2 count now on Green. You look to the Nationals, and you talk about the fact that they were not a good ball club for a number of years, but they got a couple of #1 picks, and they really took advantage in picking up Steven Strasburg, one of the great pitchers in the game. And of course, Bryce Harper, who is Rookie of the Year from a year ago, just a great talent. You can get those #1s, and if they step up and become the players you think they are when you draft them, you really help yourself. And Jeff and I, actually everybody down on the field today, got a chance to see Carlos Correa, the youngster that was drafted #1 last year, and what an impressive young man, physically and otherwise, he is.
Yeah, well, you just hope those kids develop as, you know, we don't want to rush them, but we'd certainly like to have them there as soon as we can. But we go again, you know, I think Jeff Lunau's out there today looking at a couple prospects for our 1-1. He wants to take a look at it himself. That's why he's not here today. So we go one again, and then, you know, hopefully he can maximize those draft picks like he did last year and get, you know, what we thought is 3 first-round draft picks, you know, within the budget, you know, within the cap that we get for that first-round pick.
We mentioned that Bud Norris pitched in an inter-squad game yesterday morning as strike 3 is called on the inside corner again. Gio Gonzalez showing that ability to spot the inside edge. But with Bud Norris pitching, the bottom line is that he went out with some of these minor leaguers on the other side in that morning game, and one of the guys was Carlos Correa. And I said to Carlos this morning, so how'd you do? How'd you do against the major league pitching? He says, well, I had a couple of hits. Very, very modest young man. A couple of hits. One of those was a home run. And so, you know, you look at him and you think, well, my thought anyway is Alex Rodriguez when he first came to the big league. Big, tall, rangy kid that can play shortstop. Just looks like he could be something special, and he modestly says, yeah, I had a couple of hits and one of those was a home run, and boy, it just projects so well.
Well, I think, part of what the team does in selecting these guys is really look at the entire profile and the attitude of the kid and the way he presents himself. And, certainly he's mature beyond his age.
And you've done a good job of accruing all these guys in the minor leagues and things like that. And a lot of fans out there are probably wondering, moving into the AL West, which is an interesting division in itself just because there's so many powerhouses. But at the same time, the Oakland Athletics put on a pretty good program and showing that, it doesn't take a bunch of superstars to win that division. You can beat those guys and win. At what point during this season would you consider making moves, or what would dictate you making a move during a stretch run if the Houston Astros are in position to make a run at this thing?
Well, certainly we'd like to have that opportunity. We have the resources to do it. If the team makes a run and there's some adjustments that need to be made and the money needs to be spent, we're ready to do that. It might be a little too early this year, but you talk about the Athletics. I mean, with a very limited budget, which is not our situation down the road, they put out a very high quality team year in and year out, and they're very competitive. And so they have some smart people in there, and I think we have the staff that's, they've even said, their GM has even said that, that we've really hired some smart people.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I like the idea. I'm a little bit of old school. I enjoy the game on the field, but I like the fact that you're even thinking about joining, the analytical side with the character and personnel side. I think that's going to be interesting to watch.
Chris Carter is one of those very interesting guys to watch, and we saw him double going the other way, high off the wall in right field, that back in the first inning. It didn't amount to a run in that frame. Big strikeout by Justin Maxwell with one out, and that was the key out of the frame. But Chris Carter is a guy we're going to be talking long ball about a whole lot, and it's interesting that you guys talk about the American League West, because obviously the Astros now find themselves in that tough division, and with Texas and the Angels and the Oakland A's, who won the division last year, and now a rebuilding and by all accounts improving Seattle Mariners club. And the fact that the Astros will face those clubs so much early on in the season, I think a lot of the tale could be told right there.
Well, we hope we get off to a good start. I think Jeff and certainly Bo think we're going to surprise some people, and so we're hopeful we pick up some wins early and get a little confidence going, like Jeff said. And if there's a chance that we're competitive and in the hunt, we'll make the moves necessary.
Jim, how much did playing baseball, and I know you played that as well as golf and I'm sure other sports, how much did playing the game help you to maybe have the perspective you need in watching this team grow?
Well, if you played a little bit, everybody's played at some level. But, I know what it's like to have a sore elbow or a sore shoulder, or you threw 9 innings and your right leg hurts because, the muscles are torn down. So, I have a little idea what it is to be out there and what those guys go through. Certainly not at this level, but I think it gives us a little insight. And, you can walk into the locker room. You know when you're in a good locker room. You know when you're in a bad locker room. That's at the college level or the pro level. So I think chemistry is important, and so that's some of the things that I can see when I walk around. I don't really get into the guy's business, but I am observing and watching everything that's going on.
Right-hander loosening in the pen as we speak for the Washington Nationals. Philip Umber trying to get through 4 innings today, and boy, has he gotten through smoothly, allowing just 1 hit, a 2-out double in the 3rd inning to the 9-hitter Corey Brown, and that just a little pop-up that dropped in. 2-2 got him swinging. Gio Gonzalez has had a good changeup here this afternoon. Very nice to have Jim Crane in the booth.
Thanks,
as
Jim.
we continue scoreless. Thanks a lot, Jim, and we'd like to do it again a number of times over the course of the year.
Anytime you want. Nice to have our new TB team.
Yeah.
We're very happy to have you guys and looking forward to having some fun this year.
Well, the big thanks goes to you, Jim. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee, Florida. Right now, on top of the fourth between the Nationals and the Astros. The score right now, 0-0. We talked to manager Bo Porter today about errors. This team has committed 17 errors in 10 preseason games, and he says that's far too many for him. He says one of the ways to decrease those errors is speeding up the pace of the game, and that falls onto the shoulders of both the pitchers and the catchers. He says if the starters can find a pace on the mound and that if they could attack the strike zone, then that would allow for the players in the field to not be standing around so often, and that way they would lose focus, and that's going to speed up the pace of the play and cut down on the errors. Let's send it back up to you guys, Alan and Jeff.
Marius, thanks a lot, and I could not agree more. I am just one of those guys who can't stand watching slow play, especially between pitcher and hitter.
It is extremely hard, especially on, I know behind the plate, you're a little more into the game, catching every single pitch, but being out there on defense and watching your pitchers throw ball after ball and realize he's putting hitters in hitters counts constantly, it puts you on your heels a little bit. And when those guys do get in good hitting counts and they get a fastball to hit and they rip it at you, it makes it a little bit tougher to react.
And sometimes it's not just about throwing a lot of balls, although that's a big thing, as pitch is popped up by Danny Espinosa, just out of play as Matt Dominguez comes over to the railing. But you'll find some guys who, and you know, there's so many ways that players will talk about it from the dugouts. They'll holler out, "Are you afraid? If you're scared, get a dog." Meaning, if you're going to stand around and hold on to the baseball and afraid to throw it to home plate, why don't you get out of there? And you watch some of those guys, and it gets so frustrating. I think defensively, it just wears you back on your heels.
Well, some guys do fear contact. And unfortunately, early on in spring, some errors have been made behind them, and maybe that's getting into the psyche of the pitchers and maybe making them think that they've got to make better pitches and keep the ball out of the infield or keep the ball out of the air so nobody has a chance to make an error. But at the same time, if you go out there nibbling, these hitters are big league hitters. They're going to lay off some pitches and force you to come back into the zone. So knowing that they can make pitches in the zone and have guys make plays behind them, great pitch right there, caught him to chase. So if they can pitch in the zone, they're going to cut down on their pitch counts, go deeper into games, and allow these guys to make plays.
Philip Umber has been very good. Again, allowing just a little pop-up double as the only base runner for the Nationals to this point. And this is a good lineup from the National League. Philip Umber just mowing through the hitters. What do you see as you watch him, Jeff?
He's mixing his pitches, and it seems like Corporate, every time he puts his glove up in a spot, he's throwing right to it.
That strikeout of Espinosa, the first recorded on the afternoon, that is not an issue for Philip Umber. Yeah, if you could get away from the little pop-up double down the left field side, you got Umber on pace for another one of those perfect games. Again, he was the 21st Major League pitcher to bring a perfect game. That came last year, early on in the season. From that point on, for Philip Umber, it was a season that he probably doesn't want to remember. It just simply went downhill, and it's hard to imagine why that happens. A guy will have that big breakout moment with, in this case, the perfect game, and then can't do a thing right after that.
I'm sure a lot of people look to that perfect game as being Phil Umber's breakout start and, you know, where he'd start to turn the corner. I know he's only been in the league for a couple of years, bounced around, probably battled some injuries, but hasn't had that breakthrough performance until that perfect game, but has yet to put a season together, which is extremely tough.
So we put the jinx on Philip Umber as he walks his first man on the day. That's Bryce Harper, and brings up the cleanup man, Wilson Ramos. Well, come get a behind-the-scenes look at Minute Maid Park. Learn all about the ballpark and visiting areas like historic Union Station, the broadcasting booth, luxury suites, the Diamond Club, and a whole lot more. For more information, visit astros.com/tours or call 713-259-TOUR to schedule your tour today. So the one-out walk has Harper aboard. Wilson Ramos, the DH, hits one on the ground. This should be two as Dominguez gets it started. Altuve on to Laird, and there's your double play. So the first walk of the day leads to the first double play turned by the Astros. And we've played 3.5 innings. Still a scoreless ball game. Philip Umber, what a day he put in today. I imagine he will rest very easy. It's a scoreless game. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. For Washington, they go to right-hander Ross Ollendorf. So Gio Gonzalez pitches 3.5 innings and pitched effectively, especially if you want to take the tack that when you get in trouble, you pitch out of that trouble, because there was a bit of trouble here this afternoon for Gio Gonzalez. Gonzalez yielded a base hit and double in the first inning. And there's your call to the bullpen. Time for our call to the bullpen, presented by Gulfgate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Yeah, Gio probably threw a couple more pitches than he really intended to. He's having a tough time finding the zone a little bit. Astros hitters made the adjustment, took him. Got a couple base runners, but haven't capitalized yet.
So Ross Ollendorf, last year, you can see the numbers, not pretty. He allows 62 hits and 48 in 2/3 innings and walks 24 on top of that. Not the kind of numbers you really want to take home to mom. His first pitch, a line shot, and going up to haul it in is Tyler Moore at first base. So Justin Maxwell, who struck out a key out back in the first inning, that was the second out of the inning, and allowed Gio Gonzalez to get out of the frame without any damage. Hits one on the screws right here, but it doesn't pay off.
Right here's a quality spring training at bat. Sit on a pitch on the outside corner, hit a bullet. First baseman, unfortunately, makes a good play on it. But at the same time, you hit the ball hard, and you don't have to run around the bases and waste any more energy than you need to.
Just go sit down, enjoy the fact that you hit the ball sharply.
And got out.
I don't imagine, Jeff Blum, that you ever hit any of those line shots for outs in your career.
Never. Always found the hole.
Good deal.
That's why I'm up here now.
Jeff Blum, and we're going to do it a whole bunch this year. By the way, Bill Brown enjoying a little much-deserved R&R right now back in Houston, enjoying the ball game. I wonder what kind of meal Brownie's having right now as he watches the game.
Is Brownie a big food guy?
Well, I'm not sure right now. He's in such great shape. I don't imagine he ever abuses food.
Probably picks his spots. Timing is everything.
Yeah. I think that's exactly the way Brownie told me to put that out there. So I got you covered, Bill. J.D. Martinez 0 for 1 on the day, grounded out to end the first inning. Ross Ollendorf gives up another line shot. This finds a hole this time. Jeff Blum style as it's shot into right field. Martinez with hit number 4 for the Astros.
JD's one of those guys that gets the foot down early and has a little bit of hitch with the bat right there, but he is a very good hitter. I had the chance to rehab in one of my many rehab stints with the Astros in Corpus Christi when he was in Double-A. Very affable young man, and asked a lot of questions. He was fun to talk to, energetic about the game, and wasn't afraid to be inquisitive about things about the game, and is doing a good job at hitting. I think he's got a good, if not the everyday left fielder.
Yeah, I would think he probably has the inside track at being maybe the right fielder, because Chris Carter now has stepped in and become one of those first basemen that you've got to get in the lineup, and left field seems to be the spot for Carter, who has also played left field during the course of his career.
That is good to hear. It's good to see Chris Carter moving around too. You never want to pigeonhole yourself unless you're one of those superstars, but any chance you have to get into the lineup, whether it be first base, left field, you got to take advantage of it. It looks like Chris is doing that.
Well, you talked, Jeff, about getting into the lineup. This one got into the kitchen of Nate Fryman, and it introduces the 5-4-3 double play. Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee, Florida. It's a scoreless ball game. Philip Umber, if you're watching things closely for the Astros, was awfully good today. 4 strong innings, allowed just 1 hit and 1 walk, and then got a double play following the walk. That didn't come until the 4th inning. And so the Astros will turn to their bullpen. Yeah, we'll get a...
This appears to be Shu Jin Lo,
right-hander,
I believe,
out of Taiwan.
Getting tested early. See if we can get a little info. There we go.
Jia Jen Lo. Not a big guy. And again from Taiwan, 26 years of age, another one of the arms as the Astros start camp with 61 men. Of course, then you can look at what the Yankees have done with their camp this year. 81 men in camp, and trying to overcome maybe some aging players and some injured players. So Lowe will work it from the stretch.
I was going to say that probably was a little interesting early on in camp, but with the guys they have dropping so quickly, it probably look like geniuses right now.
Need the extra bodies. There's a ground ball to start things as Ian Desmond grounds out to second base. So Chia Jen Lo comes in and gets that first out with 1 pitch.
So far he's got a fastball.
He's got good heat. What else you see, Jeff?
See an old friend, Chad Tracy.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about him. Played against him for a while when he was in Arizona, playing third base every day. He's worked himself into a pretty good platoon role player off the bench type situation on a very good ball club up in Washington.
Well, he's kind of been playing every day here in the course of the spring.
Yeah, I haven't checked too many reports on Ryan Zimmerman, but has had some issues in the past. Probably working his way back into spring. They don't want to rush him too quick.
Chad Tracy 0 for 1 on the afternoon, popped out to short. That his 16th plate appearance on the spring as he sees the count quickly at 0-2. So Lowe comes on, and Philip Umber, who worked 4 innings, said that's not enough for me. The good news is he threw strikes and got quick outs here this afternoon, and sometimes what that means is you don't get to your pitch count. You go down to the bullpen and throw a few more.
And he's probably got a good feeling right now. Lock that into muscle memory. Work on the good habits right now.
I imagine Doug Brocale and Bo Porter both very pleased with what they saw today, and probably saying when you go down to the pen right now, don't just throw, but let's lock this in, just as you're saying, Jeff. The 1-2 pitch, line foul, and watch out.
4?
Yeah. Like a golf ball coming at you real quickly, you got to be able to move and get out of the way.
Chad Tracy dialing 911 right there, and they answered.
Boy, is that ever the truth. You know, Jim Deshays used to do this job so well here with Bill Brown, and Jim was one of those hitters, and I use that term very loosely. No cards and letters, please, but Jim would come to the plate, left-hand hitter, and if you were in the third base dugout, it was time to get your glove on. If you had access to catcher's gear, get it on, because he could hit more line drives in that direction than anybody I've ever been around.
Would have been a great cricket player.
Yeah, but they weren't hiring in that direction at that time. JD was just astounding. Anybody who came in the dugout thinking that we were soothsayers, just kind of maybe anticipating what was going to happen, had no idea, because it happened all the time. Line shot into right field. So Chad Tracy gets a sign from Jeff Blum, as Blummer may be relaying signs and making his old buddy look good. A 1-out double for Tracy brings up Tyler Moore.
Yeah, you could relay all the signs you want. Get a breaking ball in the zone like that to a veteran hitter, he's going to hammer it. Sure enough, takes it and rips it to right field. Saw it go all the way to the wall, put his head down and dug in and went all the way to second base. Standing up, he'll remind you of that too.
That's exactly the way I used to leg him out. Turned many a triple into a double. So a pinch runner now for Washington.
Veteran manager right there, Davey Johnson, recognizing that Tracy gave it an all-out effort and got him a pinch runner.
Not getting any more out of this guy today.
Not risking not being able to make it all the way home.
Anthony Rendon He is at second base with one out. Still a scoreless game here in the fifth inning. And again, very well pitched. Little broken bat ground ball to third base. Dominguez comes on and makes a nice play, and now the chance at the double play, and they'll get it. 5-3-6 to complete the double play, and not a bad throw on the backside from first base by Brandon Laird. So everybody getting the job done defensively. There's been a lot of talk about the 17 errors on the spring, but look at this play as Dominguez gets it all started. We stay scoreless.
Welcome back, and we ended the inning with a good defensive play. Bo Porter emphasizing that defense is a key that they needed to work on for the rest of spring training, and a great running in play by the third baseman Dominguez to come across and make that throw. And Brandon Laird making a great throw with Tyler Green coming over from behind and probably with some good communication covered third base. But Laird did a great job of receiving that ball at first base and making the exchange and having a good throw to third base. Fun to watch when things happen right.
And again, the Astros had quite an extensive defensive drill this morning, and that included outfielders involved, and really good to see, as Jeff says, when the defense able to play that kind of baseball. Well, Ross Ohlendorf with a second inning of work. He'll start it with Brandon Laird, that first baseman who made the strong throw back onto third base to complete the double play.
Be nice if he could lead off with a double right here. Reinforce that good play he just made.
He's had a good spring.
Yeah, he's putting up good numbers and showing some good pop.
And finds the hole off the glove of the shortstop Desmond. So a leadoff single and a big turn at first base. That's also what you want to see.
A little over-aggressive by Bryce Harper trying to make that throw.
Not a bad throw that gets by the first baseman more. Kind of that one-hop throw that you like to see.
Probably caught the first baseman a little off guard. That's an uncharacteristic play for a left fielder to be firing across the diamond back to first base. But he felt he had an opportunity. Quicker runner might take advantage of that.
I wonder what Davey Johnson, the skipper of the Washington Nationals, might say here in the spring. Do you want to try to air it out a little bit? Bryce Harper is an aggressive young player.
Very aggressive. Sometimes you don't want to see that in a big league ballpark. Some ballparks have extensive foul ground. Could be an issue.
Carlos Corporon, the catcher today for the Astros, batting in the 8th spot, turns to bunt. And you don't often see a lot of this other than with pitchers during spring training, but it might say a lot about what Bo Porter and staff are thinking about as they head toward the season.
I agree. I was thinking the same thing, and knowing that they're going to play with the DH consistently and not have the ability of having that pitcher in the lineup to sacrifice more often, other guys are going to have to step up in the lineup and do these things in order to score runs and beat some of these teams that you're going to be playing against in the AL West. But it also puts you in an awkward situation if you haven't done it too much in your career.
Yeah, bunting is not the automatic play that I think a lot of fans have the impression that it might be. Put on the bunt. Move the man over. It's nice in theory a lot of times. You do give up an out, and a lot of baseball people don't feel that that's a good thing to do anytime. And now Carlos Corporon is going to check things out with his third base coach, Dave Tremblay. Maybe Tremblay feeling that Corporon is doing this on his own, and actually the Astros would prefer seeing him swing the bat. He's got a big hole on the right side.
Well, that's the thing. He's hitting left-handed right now with the right-handed pitcher on there. Got a runner at first base and Laird with the first baseman holding him on. That's a big hole over there you want to take advantage of. And sometimes you will get the bunt sign early in the count, and with the count running to 2-1, it's a little more of a hit and run count, a little more of an action count. So maybe they want to mix things up and take advantage of the chance that Ohlendorf is going to throw a fastball in a 2-1 count, not wanting to risk going to that 3-1 count and really forcing a tough situation for the pitcher.
Another throw to first base. Brandon Laird diving back in. We've got Philip Umber down in the third base dugout for the Astros. And again, a strong outing for Philip this afternoon. 4 strong innings, throwing strikes. Philip, thanks for joining us. I imagine you have to feel awfully good about this one.
Yeah, it felt good. You know, you always want to get your work in this time of year. You want to go out there and throw strikes and keep the defense on their toes and do what you need to do. So, all in all, good work day.
Yeah, I imagine if we had asked you before going out there this afternoon what you would like to do, you might have just said the same words that just now came out of your mouth.
Yeah, you know, this is our third time through, you know, getting out there in games. And, you know, the first one is always, you know, a little bit weird after, you know, sitting for 5 months without getting in a game. So, you know, the first one you're kind of feeling it out a little bit. The second one you get a little sharper, and about the third time you should be, especially with your fastball, be able to, you know, at least throw it to halves of the plate.
Philip, this is Jeff Blum, and a great job today. You did spot that fastball early and often. Do you feel that your presence in this rotation will be that veteran leadership that these guys need?
Well, I mean, I hope so. Right now, I'm competing for a spot right along with everyone else, and so I'm hoping to make this team and to be in the rotation. And whatever role I get, you know, I'm going to do my best to lead by example, and that's all a personal thing. You know, work hard as you can, and kind of like I said, lead by example. I've been around guys that have shown me the right way to go about things, and now that it's kind of weird for me to be on a team that I'm one of the older guys or veterans or whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to do my best to do that for them.
29 years of age, get your Geritol after everything's over today. We got a chance just while you were talking, Philip, to watch some of the quick outs you got today, and you did it with the Washington Nationals lineup. That's a good one. Would you rather during a spring outing face a good lineup, a lot of good major league hitters, or does it matter?
Well, I mean, if you have the results like I did today, yeah, you want to face a good lineup. That way you can feel good about it. But really, it's more important to do what you need to do, regardless of what the hitters are doing. Usually, they're a little bit behind the pitchers at this point. And so, you know, for pitchers, we need to be focused on throwing strikes and you know, rounding ourselves into shape. Because, you know, if you ask a lot of hitters, spring training should be about 3 weeks shorter. But, you know, it's mostly for us pitchers. So get out there and get your work in and move on.
It's also for some of us broadcasters. And thanks a lot for joining us here this afternoon. Philip, nice going. That was a great one.
I appreciate it.
Good job.
Having me.
While he was talking, Carlos Corporon was hit by a pitch. The Astros have runners at first and second with nobody out. The leadoff single by Brandon Laird got it started. Matt Dominguez at the plate. Jonathan VR with a bat waiting on deck. That's the leadoff spot previously employed by Tyler Green. There's your first out of the inning as Dominguez pops out. One out, back to the top, and it is VR coming to the plate. Jonathan VR, very talented looking young shortstop, a guy trying to get his feet on the ground in terms of what he does with the bat. Robbie Grossman now is a pinch runner at first base, taking over for Carlos Corporon. Grossman, a Houston product out of Cyprus.
He was brought over in the Wandy Rodriguez deal?
Yes.
Very nice.
Ohlendorf misses high. Robbie Grossman, again out of the Houston area, 23 years of age. Attended high school right out there at Cy-Fair, out the 290 freeway. Acquired, as Jeff Blum says so astutely, for Wandy Rodriguez. And he's been a guy that's been making some eyes open quickly here in camp.
When you look at that number, that on-base percentage, it's tough to teach young guys that ability to be patient, get on base, and actually work onto the base paths. But he's shown that ability. That's that's a good baseball savvy that you're looking for to have on a ball club, and making a claim here that he belongs on the roster.
Well, it's a roster, and Bo Porter's talked about it, Jeff, that just about anybody can break into. If they show that they're ready to play right now, they'll get a chance. Line shot, but right at Harper in left field. That's the second out here in the inning.
Tough break, but good AB by VR to come off the bench and hit a ball firm to left field like that.
Marwin Gonzalez will come on as a pinch hitter for Jose Altuve. Say, don't miss your chance to purchase 2013 Astros regular season tickets. Tickets for individual games, including opening night, are on sale right now. For information on all the biggest games or to get your tickets right now, call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com. Marwin Gonzalez, one of the guys vying for a spot in that infield, primarily at shortstop, because obviously Jose Altuve, the only member of the Astros to make the All-Star squad last year, is a lock at second base.
All you're looking for is an opportunity. This is a great place for these guys to be. Got roster cuts coming up pretty soon, so things are going to start thinning out a little bit. You're going to realize where you're at. In those last 2 weeks, no matter how you started, it's how you finish, whether it be a big league season or spring training, and that's what those guys are going to remember. So these guys have a chance to make a good, strong push to get their name remembered, and even if they do get sent down or cut, to be remembered.
That's the big thing. It's always huge for a major leaguer to break camp, especially that first time, but any time with a major league club. But what a lot of guys don't seem to grasp is that the 25 that break are not going to be the 25 that even may be there 1 week into the season, let alone at any point throughout the season. And a lot of guys may realize that, but it's still tough when you get that notice that you're going back down to the minor leagues.
Yeah, it's a bit of an ego hit. I mean, everybody that goes out there wants to break with the team because it is a special thing to do. But if this is your first spring training camp and you don't break with the team, it doesn't mean there's not an opportunity out there waiting for you, or you have to wait until next spring training. Injuries, trades, things like that always affect rosters. And as long as you produce, let them know that you can play the game and then go down to AAA, AA, or wherever you're at and continue that success, and let them know that you weren't jaded by the whole situation, that you're going to go out there and continue to play the game hard. They're going to bring you back.
Scoreless game. Pitch hit in the air toward left center field. That's going nowhere with that breeze now stiffening a bit from left field. And that'll do it for the Astros in the fifth inning as Gonzalez flies out. 2 hits for Washington and 5 for the Astros. Welcome back. Scoreless ball game. Very well pitched. Philip Humber, we got a chance to chat with him from that third base dugout. And pleased, and he should be, about the way he pitched today. It was a strong outing as he continues, as he told us, to vie for a spot in that rotation, taking nothing for granted. Number of changes defensively for the Astros. Jonathan Villar is now in at shortstop for Green. Brett Wallace at third base taking over for Dominguez. Carlos Pena at first base defensively. Robbie Grossman came on as a pinch runner. He's in center for Maxwell. Fernando Martinez is now in left field. And Jason Castro behind the plate doing the catching.
Dallas Keuchel on the mound now. Lefty.
Keuchel makes his first pitch of the frame. Left-hander, not a hard thrower. Pitched quite a bit for the Astros last year. Numbers he would like to improve upon this year. Kurt Suzuki stands in to lead it off for Washington. Suzuki, the 8-hitter. He's the catcher and a very good defensive player. A guy who has played a long time, primarily with the Oakland A's.
Heard an interesting stat on him the other day. He has caught the second most games in athletics history.
How about that?
Behind Terry Steinbach. Yeah, that kind of shocked me a little bit.
That's funny. I guess it was that phase of the game that I might have been away doing a lot of minor league work, but Terry Steinbach probably wouldn't be the first name to come to mind as the catcher who led. Keuchel with the pitch. It's line, but going up to make the play at second base. That is Marwin Gonzalez defensively at second.
Good positioning by Eduardo Perez. Getting these guys in the right position to make those plays on those line drives.
Dallas Keuchel would be one of those guys that is trying to break into this rotation. When you get the chance as a left-hand pitcher to face left-handed hitters, as we see right here with Corey Brown at the plate, you want to get those guys. Even if you don't break the starting rotation, if you can get left-hand hitters out as a left-handed pitcher, you get a chance to be a long-time major league pitcher. Just get those left-handed outs. Keuchel, the third pitcher on the afternoon for Houston. The lineup for the Astros now is Villar in the top spot, followed by Marwin Gonzalez. Carter and Maxwell have been removed, so as you look at that lineup, there will be changes. I don't know if Fernando Martinez is straight up in that 3 spot for Carter. Yeah, we probably should hold back and find out where some of these changes find themselves in the batting order. 2-2 the count.
Yeah, this is a section of the game I think I'm going to defer to you. Let you enjoy filling in the blanks, and I will wait until they come to the plate.
Potentially a costly error on Jeff Lum's part. Curveball got him looking. So Keuchel does get the left-handed bat.
Good sequence right there for him, too.
Yeah, Corey Brown didn't like it, but then breaking ball, biting its way back into the strike zone. Jeff, what do you think as you watch Keuchel on the hill? And again, not a hard thrower.
Seems to come a little more over the top with his pitches. I mean, lefties are usually trying to have a gimmick or some kind of skit out of the bullpen.
A skit? I've never heard it put that way.
I will trademark that phrase now.
Yeah?
Just to try and throw hitters off a little bit. You know, come from a different arm angle, be a little more deceptive with things. But he's, you know, got a little bit slower windup, trying to probably be a little more deceptive and sneak that fastball back through the zone. He did a good job that last hitter against Corey Brown, moving some pitches in and out, setting him up nicely for that breaking ball to finish him off. Never hurts when you get the call on the high breaking ball. Take advantage of it. Yep. Tries to come in on leadoff man Denard Span. Span figures to be a nice piece to the puzzle for the Washington Nationals. He adds that left-handed bat, the speed at the top of the order.
and a guy who plays center field quite well. High chopper, and that's a fair ball going down the line. And with this speed, you're talking a minimum of 2 bases. And Denard Span says, you got to be kidding me. I'm not even going to think about stopping at second. So the 2-out triple.
They're going to call it. They're going to call him back for the ball going in the tarp. Maybe the 10th man on the field down there, that big green tarp.
Well played in right field. If you can get that tarp to come into play, call tarp.
Taking advantage of those spring training fields to dry out a little bit. A colossal chopper down the right field line, way over Carlos Pena's head. And as soon as Denard saw this, the anti-Chad Tracy running around the bases.
I'm going to let Chad know your old buddy, where you're just hammering him.
Oh, he'd be doing the same to me, believe me.
That's what Buddy's doing this game.
Yes.
So Denard Span doesn't get a triple, so that's going to do it for his day. If you can't get 3 on that ball, you can't get 3.
Probably go down the right field line, do some sprint work.
Michael Taylor is the pinch runner now at second base.
Even with the runner on second base right here, it's going to be a good chance for Keuchel to show that he can work out of a jam. 2 outs, man on second base, right-handed hitter up. Espinosa with some pop, too. This could be a interesting at-bat for him.
Well-placed fastball on the outside corner at the knees for a strike. A ball and a strike. Keep mentioning, but you don't get a chance to do that a whole lot during spring training games. It is scoreless here in the 6th inning. Keuchel back to the plate. The changeup grounded on a couple of hops to third. Always one of those tough plays, forcing the third baseman back. And a good strong throw from third base by Brett Wallace, who took over defensively. That'll do it for Washington. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, a scoreless game. Nationals held to just 3 hits here on this breezy, once again, afternoon. That wind now finding its normal slot toward right field. Remember Jeff Blum? I remember it. He's actually pretty hard to forget as he homers in the World Series against the Houston Astros. It broke all of our hearts, but Jeff Blum, a good guy, and so when it was all said and done, we were able to enjoy with Jeff. I know Jeff doesn't remember this well, but if you could remember, Jeff, what would be your thoughts as you watch yourself go around the bases?
Yeah, that's a tough one to forget. All the way around, it was one of those bittersweet moments, something we all dream about.
Throwing kisses at the fans and all that stuff?
Well, that is probably the most interesting part of that entire home run, is that I blew that kiss, who I thought it was going to be towards my wife, who was down in the Astro Wives clubhouse. So right here, I cross the plate, and I'm looking up, and my wife, my daughter, who, my wife just gave birth to triplets a couple months ago, so I blew her the kiss, and said that this is for all the hard work kind of thing, and I can't believe this is happening. And I see her after the game, and it turns out she was in the Astro Wives Lounge.
And she's asking you, so Jeff, congratulations on the dinger, but who were you throwing the kiss toward?
Yeah, exactly. She was a little concerned at that point, but it was just a unique situation, and yeah, obviously the highlight of my career.
That's good stuff. There's always a good story behind some good stories. Carlos Pena leads it off for the Astros here in the scoreless game, 6th inning. Pena came on defensively, took over at first base in the previous half inning. Pena stings one but pulls it foul. This is a bat that, if it could find its way back into the fold, could be very valuable for the club. It's such an intriguing first baseman, or first base position rather, where so many potential long ball hitters are now in camp. And again, Chris Carter, Nate Fryman, Carlos Pena, Brandon Laird, who got the start today. All guys who can hit the long ball and ideally be able to drive in a bunch of runs for you, and they play that same position. So Carter is now working in left field, and we see Fryman sometimes getting some work at first and as a DH, and just guys moving around trying to find a way for both Porter to figure out a way to improve this offense.
And now with Laird swinging the bat as well as he is this early in spring, he's had the chance to move over to first base, but can also play third base. And now you've got, moving to the American League West with the DH involved, that's another position for these guys to mix in. So there's good, with Bo Porter and the depth that he has an opportunity to get really creative with some of these lineups he throws out there.
You know, and a lot of people maybe thought that it was going to be tough for the Astros to find a way to get a DH, but it's going to come from that first base position here this spring, one way or the other. Pena maybe gets a break here on a check swing with the pitch in the dirt.
It's never a swing. Never a swing. Of course he checked his swing right there. The umpire is always wrong on that play, and I'm glad I can sit up here and explain that to everybody and let them know that the umpires have a terrible angle and slow eyesight, and the hitter is always right.
Next inning, we're going to have a former Astros pitcher here in the booth talking about check swings.
That is a very biased opinion on the hitter's standpoint.
Of course, having caught a little bit, I always had a split decision on that. There were times when I thought, absolutely, if he started the bat, he's got to be out. And then I had my own, the opinion, at least when I was hitting, and it tended to lean the way you're talking. Leadoff walk to Carlos Pena. He's at first base. Fernando Martinez, who took over in left field now, is the hitter.
It also brings into question, as we get the luxury of sitting up here and watching a replay, you know, what replay situations they keep talking about that they say are going to be incorporated next season.
One ball and one strike. How do you feel about replay?
I do like it. I think there's certain situations where it is necessary. You know, I think the home run issue has been taken care of. They've done a good job with it. I think the fair foul situations are going to definitely be talked about. But I think in baseball there's such a gray area. You really don't know how to call a certain play. Maybe it, you know, ground rule plays, if diving catches that are trapped. You know, because you've got to take into account if there's base runners on base, where do the runners go back to? Do you move them forward? What do you take into account, and who are you relying on for that information to make those calls? So there's still a lot of gray area. Ripped.
No gray area right here unless you're talking about, is it getting out or is it going to stay in? But that ball was centered up pretty well off that right field wall. A double now has runners at second and third as the Astros try to break onto the board in this scoreless game.
Fastball high in the zone. Fernando does a great job of getting on top of it, hammering it into that right field corner. Got a little too much topspin on it. Hit the top of the wall.
Yeah, pretty good swing. And it's just like Jeff says, that pitch up in the strike zone. A lot of times you can kind of wing it a little bit, swing that uppercut swing, and just pop it up. Instead, Martinez got the barrel to it and just hung it out. Now Rick Ankiel stands in and takes a strike. Ankiel is the guy that has been the most impressive infield, the defensive workout guy. You watch him from right field throw, and it is something to behold. He grounds one to the right side. This is going to produce a run with the infield back and a 1-0 Houston lead. So Rick Ankiel comes on his first plate appearance. He grounds out but produces the game's only run, and moving into third base now is Fernando Martinez.
That's a quality at bat. This late in the game, he's running into the last 3 innings of the game. No runs. Got that runner on third base less than 2 outs, and you also have a runner at second base too. So at twofold, you get the runner in and you move the runner to the third base. And now you have 1 out, man on third for, is this Cross?
74, that is Mark Krause.
Yes.
Krause, a left-hand hitter. That'll bring the infield in for the Washington Nationals. Ohlendorf has his high fastball fouled back with the check swing. So Nate Fryman done with his day. And Fryman wound up 1 for 2. Line went beautifully into right center field in the second inning, then grounded into a 5-4-3 double play. That ended the fourth. Krause is a pinch hitter here. Pitch hit in the air to left field, and that's going to produce the game's second run and maybe more. Nice catch in left field. It'll be a sacrifice fly, a 2-0 Houston lead, and just as Jeff Blum said, that ground out by Rick Ankiel not only produces a run, but it sets up that second run, and now the 2-0 lead. So a sac fly. 6 hits for Houston, 3 for Washington.
Krause does a good job going up there and realizing his situation and knowing what he has to do. As a hitter, you're looking to see where the defense is aligning with the situation right there with the runner at third base, less than 2 outs. They brought the infield in, thinking that'd be a good situation.
Ground ball up the middle, nice play at shortstop, and after the spin, the throw on the money to get the 7-hitter, Laird for the Astros. But 2 runs in the 6th inning puts Houston on top of the Washington Nationals, 2-0. We're back, 2-0 Houston on top. Dallas Keuchel will get set to work a second inning. And as we take our looks around this afternoon, you can't help but look at the scouting of the American League West, where the Astros are going to find themselves playing each club 19 times. Oakland won that division last year. Texas just simply let it flounder away at the end of the season. The Angels were already a club that were favored by many teams a year ago, and they've gotten better. And the Seattle Mariners appear to be a whole lot better.
Yeah, re-signing Felix Hernandez is huge. Solidifying that rotation for them is going to be great. Kendrys Morales and Michael Morse doing a great job driving in runs, which they've needed in that big ballpark. I'm interested to see Ryan Madson in Anaheim. They've taken all year off with the injury with the Cincinnati Reds last year. It was disappointing. But to have him back, hopefully healthy at the back end of that bullpen is going to be a huge addition for the Angels to close out some of those games that they need so badly.
Then again, some of those key moves, when you talk National League West, there were some big ones. Josh Hamilton being maybe the biggest in all of Major League Baseball. A lot of questions as to whether he would stay with the Texas Rangers, but he is now a mighty Angel. And that offense gets even better. Lance Berkman, of course, signs on, as does A.J. Przinsky with the Texas Rangers. Jed Lowry goes from Houston on to the Oakland A's. I think a lot of people want to know, will the Oakland A's play as well as they played a year ago? I think a lot yet to be seen with that club.
It's always interesting. I know the last couple of years when I was with Arizona, we won the West right out of the chute with Kirk Gibson's first year as a manager. That second year was a little more daunting, knowing that we had the target on our back. And now it's going to be the Oakland Athletics' turn to have that target on their back and see how they respond when everybody's aiming for them.
Was it tougher in Arizona once you guys had that target on your back?
It was tougher. I played with San Diego and we won a couple of Western divisions, and it was a little more veteran ball club that had stuck around with each other a little bit longer. So we reacted and handled the situation a little bit better. And, of course, it was a different division back then. But with the Arizona Diamondbacks, some things changed. Things tightened up a little bit. We didn't get quite the performances out of some of the guys that we had hoped that carried us earlier in the 2011 season.
Little looper down the left field side with a broken bat as Wilson Ramos, the DH, has a one-out single.
It's good to see. I mean, even though the Washington Nationals have got 3-4 hits now, it's good to see that not too many of them have been smashed. Ramos does a good job of staying inside the ball and fighting that thing off, but pitchers are making good pitches, and these guys are just happening to find, some drop shots that are finding the right hole.
Second little looper that's dropped down the left field side. Nothing you can do about it defensively, but that's good pitching when you see pitches right on the hands like this. So Ramos at first base. He's held on by Carlos Pena as Keuchel comes to the plate. The Astros have turned 2 double plays on ground balls here this afternoon, one coming in the 4th inning and the other right in that following 5th inning. Again, if you're just joining us, Philip Umber got the start for Houston. Wound up with 4 very nice shutout innings on the afternoon. Allowed only 2 base runners, one on a double, that by the little pop-up down the left field side by Corey Brown, and then a one-out walk in the 4th inning, and then got the double play. This pitch popped up on the right side. Carlos Pena is calling and will make the catch. So that's 2 down here in the inning as Desmond pops out.
It'd be good to see Keuchel shut this inning out after came up and scored 2 runs.
Anthony Rendon will stand in. Spring training continues as the Houston Astros take on the Atlanta Braves. Coverage begins tomorrow at 11:30 on Comcast Sportsnet, your home for Major League Baseball teams. Start him off, breaking ball in the dirt. Nice job by Castro behind the dish. Castro, a year ago, a lot of people wondered if the knee was causing him problems, the knee that kept him out all of the 2011 campaign. But was he able to move around behind the plate, block pitches in the dirt? Right now, he says he's 100%. In fact, for Castro, that injury happened during spring training. Happened right in Lakeland against the Tigers. And it comes, as so often will be the case, a throw to first base. He was going down the line on a ground ball that he had hit, but that throw inside the bag, the home plate side, up and in, and Castro tried to evade the first baseman, land on the bag, and he did it with the right foot, but it resulted in that knee just completely spinning and giving out, and ultimately he needed to have surgery on the ACL. Wasn't torn, but stretched, he said, and then a very big tear on the meniscus. Anthony Rendon came in as a pinch runner back in the 5th inning. He pops it up. Carlos Pena once again, and a tough chance called off at second base, and that play made at second by Marwin Gonzalez, and that's a play you need from the infielder. So good defense to get this inning done. 6.5 innings in the book, and a 2-0 Houston lead.
Welcome back to spring training baseball here on Comcast Sportsnet. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning, and the score, Astros 2, Nationals nothing. Earlier in the game, I had a chance to be in the dugout while Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals was at bat. Now, there were a slew of Astros watching Harper bat, including Rick Ankiel. Now, I asked Ankiel about Harper, and he said that kid is special. When asked what made him so special, he said on top of his physical attributes, he has basic instincts for the game of baseball. He also added that, keep in mind, this kid's only 20 years old, so he has a ton of baseball ahead of him. Let's send it back up to you guys up in the dugout.
Thanks, Marius. 2-0 Houston on top as the Nationals throw it around the infield. Right-hander Drew Storen, who a couple of years ago was the big man closing games for the Nationals, had 43 saves that year, fell off last year to just 4 saves. So Storen trying to regain his form.
So Bryce Harper has the brains and the brawn.
It's all part of the package.
Good grief. 6 tools?
You think that's fair?
No.
Storen's first pitch misses. As for the Astros, this is Robbie Grossman, who came on as a pinch runner. That came in the 5th inning after Carlos Corporon reached as a hit batter.
I'm not sure where that pitch was, but Laz is getting late in the game and probably felt the need to get a strike in there. But Grossman has a pretty good eye at the plate, pretty apparent by the fact that he gets on base so much. And being a young guy and having the ability to be that patient is tough to teach.
Swings and gets just a piece as he fouls it back into the catcher's mitt. Robbie Grossman, a switch hitter.
See if he can fight off some pitches here, work the count back in his favor.
The thing about Storen, as we mentioned, that the saves fell from 43 saves in 11 to just 4 last year. Injuries a big part of things, but his ERA actually tidied up a bit. It went from 2.75 to 2.37. So this is a tough right-hander.
Good hard fastball, throws an extremely firm slider. Looks like he tried to work a changeup in there, right there, but he's pitched pretty well with just 2 pitches. He can spot his fastball, sinker on the outside corner, and then throws that down and in slider to the lefties. Looks like a heater coming out of his hand, but then bites down and in, swing right over the top.
That's the big thing about the changeup or splitter, whatever form a guy happens to throw it. You throw it as hard as you can, make the hand look like you're throwing a fastball, and maybe even then some. And when you do that and trust the grip, and that grip is effective, you're going to leave hitters swinging at arm speed.
And Grossman playing right into our scouting report, worked it to a 3-2 count, fouled off a pitch, making Storen work, doing a great job leading off this inning.
Brett Wallace waits on deck. Three-two hit in the air down the left field side. Not an easy play, but now getting to it to make the play.
I believe that's Micah Owings.
Micah Owings in left field. Astros, Dynamos, Rockets, and more. We have all your sports news covered. Check out Sportsnet Central 7 days a week at 6:10 and midnight on Comcast Sportsnet. Your home of your home teams. One out here in the inning. Grossman flies to left field.
Interesting seeing Micah out there. I've faced him for a couple years when he was with the Reds, the Diamondbacks as a pitcher. Had a pretty good cutter, good slider, but could always swing the bat. I know last time I was through here with the Houston Astros, he came up in a pinch hit situation, and we had a meeting before the game recognizing the fact that he could drive the ball anywhere in the ballpark, and sure enough, first pitch slider, he drove it out the other way to beat us. But now making the adjustment from the mound to being a position player. It can't be an easy thing, but Micah, being the great athlete that he is going to give it his best shot, and the Nationals are letting him do that.
It's kind of interesting that here on the field today with Rick Ankiel, former pitcher, now a hitter in the major leagues, 2 guys that have done that same thing, and you just will not find many that have gone from pitching to hitting as a major league player. In these cases, it wasn't a guy in the minor leagues that really didn't get the job done and moved over and became successful on the other side. This is after getting to the big leagues.
Yeah, it's not an easy level to break in and do anything at. Usually you have a little more grooming in the minor leagues to let things happen. But Micah, with his experience in the big leagues and proven that he can hit a little bit on not a very exaggerated scale, but getting the chance in a big league camp to face big league pitching and to chase down some big league fly balls is going to mean a lot to him in the long run.
Does he have the kind of power that can be successful in more of a pitcher's ballpark than certainly they have in Arizona?
I think he can go gap to gap. I know that, playing in Arizona and Cincinnati, you don't really get a good calculation on what a guy's power is because those places are such good places to hit. But I think he's got a pretty good idea because I've seen him drive balls the other way, lay off some off-speed pitches, and turn on fastballs in. So I think he's got the right mentality and obviously the right build, and it just hopefully he can find the right situation and be successful with it.
We're one out here in the bottom of the seventh. 2-0 Houston. They about hit the Nationals 6-4. No errors on the afternoon. It's been well played and well pitched. The Astros picking up those 2 runs in the 6th inning as Brett Wallace swings through one in the dirt. Sandy Leon will throw on down to first base to record the out. That's 2 outs here in the 7th. And now back to the top. 7 and 14 game mini plans are now available for the 2013 season. Enjoy some of the best seats at Minute Maid Park and receive great benefits throughout this 2013 season. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com to purchase your mini plan. Do it today. That's just the 3rd strikeout for Washington pitching on the day. Back to the top of the order now.
Good idea by VR. Third baseman playing him a little bit deeper. Probably not expecting to go 2 outs. But VR being a speedy middle infielder. 2 outs, chance to get on base and make some things happen.
VR is really loaded with tools defensively. Turns to bunt once again, even with that third baseman drawing in a bit. Count at 2-0.
Had a good at-bat last time, got a pitch out of the plate, drove it to left field. Unfortunately, right at Bryce Harper.
It's a nice inning that saw the Astros put the 2 runs on the board in the 6th. High chopper up the middle. Going to take a very good play to get VR, and play is not made. Able to leg it out, and there's the speed that Jeff's talking about.
So tough. I mean, it wasn't that big of a fumble up the middle for their shortstop, but just enough hesitation to give VR that half step to get past the bag before the throw. You watch this hop, kind of jumps on the shortstop, has to find the handle a little bit. Makes a good strong throw, but just that little hesitation, that re-grip on the ball gives VR a chance to get down that line.
So a 2-out single. As VR aboard, the Astros have been inclined to run quite a bit on the course of the spring. See if VR has any notion to run. The Nationals think he does as Storen throws over. The Astros, pardon me, Jeff, have hit 16 home runs over the course of the spring, as opposed to 12 by their opposition. And in terms of stolen bases, boy, have they been running. 94, no, make that 13 stolen bases. That would be more realistic.
We were talking about Vince Coleman earlier and some of the astounding stolen base numbers he put up. I think you said 3 consecutive years of 100 stolen bases or more.
First 3 years in the big leagues.
Which probably brought a lot of joy to your game.
Catchers, for me, when Vince Coleman and some of the speedsters at that time, Tim Raines, would get aboard to start a game, or at any time for that matter, it was just kind of don't throw it into center time and see if you can keep him at second rather than at third. Storen with that heat missing up and away.
But the thing that catches me off guard is that you go back and you look at some of the Great guys with 50, 60 plus stolen bases, and last year I believe Michael Bourne led the entire Major League Baseball with just 49.
Why is that?
I was going to ask you that question.
I'm glad I asked first.
No, beat me to the punch, but I really don't know. I don't know if it's better athletes behind the plate, no offense. Or,
yeah, I think that's a good chance.
Or I know from watching games growing up that pitchers weren't necessarily concerned with their time to home plate, which had to have a huge effect.
That actually happens quite a bit. And I was with an Astros club that had a lot of that, with Nolan Ryan and Mike Scott blowing hitters away. They had the high leg kick, and they just weren't in a position to really change that. They got hitters out, and if a guy stole a base, it really wasn't considered a big part of things. Ground ball through the right side, so a base hit. As Marwin Gonzalez has his first hit of the game, back-to-back two-out singles on ground balls, and the Astros threatening now with runners at the corners, and Carlos Pena coming to the plate.
It's good to see the top two hitters with 2 outs getting on base, making things happen, stirring it up, and giving a chance like for Carlos Pena to get up here and drive some runs in. It was a great piece of hitting, utilizing that hole on the right side with the pitcher the first baseman holding on the runner.
Such an advantage when you have a man on at first base if you can hit the ball to the right side. And I say that because not just for the left-hand hitter. Jose Altuve is one of those right-hand hitters who take advantage of that hole all the time.
Got to do it. You got to take advantage of those holes when they give them to you.
So Carlos Pena, who came on, drew a walk in the 6th inning and scored the first run of the ball game. That came in as Rick Ankiel grounded out to second base. That came right on the heels of probably the key hit of the ball game, the double by Fernando Martinez. A double off the wall in right field, and it was a rocket. But runners at second and third, nobody out. The Astros played good baseball. Ankiel grounded out to drive in a run, moved up the runner to third base, and then they picked up the sac fly for that second run. Fastball gets on the hands just a bit of Pena.
And I'm wondering if it got in there, because if you look at the defense right now, those second basemen playing a deep second base, almost a shallow right field, leaving that middle of the field wide open. Carlos probably thinking he can take advantage of by trying to keep those hands inside the ball and forcing that ball up the middle where there's wide open gap to drive in a run.
Runners lead from the corners. Storm from the stretch. High heat, and that's been the nemesis of Carlos Pena for a long time. A guy who strikes out a bunch, hits a bunch of home runs, drives in a lot of runs. But if you have the good fastball and can run it up the ladder a bit, you got a good chance against Carlos.
Such an enticing pitch as a hitter. High levels, see it real good, but by the time you get to it, it is just by you.
Used to call it the Linda Ronstadt heater. Blue Bayou. Famous song way back when. Jeff, you probably weren't born yet, but
no clue.
Linda Ronstadt had the song that many a ball player would recite on the field if you got blown away with that high fastball.
Did not want to hear that song, did you?
Well, I didn't mind hearing the song so much as hearing everybody mention the name of the song. The Astros have doubled the Nationals in hits, 8-4. No errors on the afternoon. And Houston trying to add to this 2-0 lead. A 2-2 count as Storen deliberately comes set. And that high heat maybe once again trying to induce the swing.
He's looking a little flustered out there on the mound. Each time he throws a ball, he's wiggling something or looks a little concerned with the fact that he's not throwing the pitches where he wants to. I know it's early in spring, trying to make some adjustments, but at the same time, nobody really wants to be in this situation if you're on the mound right now.
Marwin Gonzalez with 2 outs on the 3-2 count will be on the move. First baseman playing back behind now, and there goes Gonzalez. Check swing going through his Pena, so he's down on strikes. And a big out on that changeup from Storen to get the strikeout. A couple of strikeouts in the inning. The Astros had a couple of hits and leave a pair. The Astros lead it, having some fun at the ballpark. Orbit showing off some of the dance moves. We are doing extensive work here during the spring right here in Comcast Sportsnet. Upcoming games tomorrow. We've got another one. Alan Ashby and Jeff Blum with you right here as the Braves invade. And then again on Sunday, the Phillies will come to town. We will take about 4 days off. Friday, the Pirates come in. And then the Blue Jays on Sunday. That Blue Jays club favored by a lot of the folks in Las Vegas to be maybe the team to beat this year. So some good baseball coming up for the Houston Astros, and in particular, coming up on our TV schedule. Make sure and join us. We love having you along. 7, 8, 9 coming up for these Washington Nationals. As Dallas Keuchel's first pitch is up and away. Matt Skoll, the hitter. And again, a chance to work on a left-hand hitter for Dallas Keuchel. Leaves the pitch up as it's fouled back.
Doing a good job of throwing strikes. Doug was talking about it. You know, first 2 pitches, get a strike in there somehow, some way, whether it be swinging or called. Astro pitchers today are doing a good job of getting in the zone.
Well, I think Bo Porter and Doug Brocail, the pitching coach, will be very happy with what they've seen so far today. Anytime you can throw zeros up on the board, as the Astros staff has done today, you're pitching well. You've got some good defense behind, a couple of double plays turned. Not a whole lot of offenses. That has tailed off for Houston. Here's the leadoff hit down the right field side, just up and over Carlos Pena. Skoll digs for second base as this one is into the tarp area. That is a double. So Keuchel yields the leadoff double here in the 8th inning as he tries to protect this 2-0 lead.
Good effort by Carlos. Ball wasn't hit very hard, but again, it's all about location. Get it off the end of the bat down the right field line, sneak it down there, run for a little bit.
Yeah, the Rangers have had some of those realty hits on the afternoon, a couple little pop-ups that drop down the left field side. All about location. 8 spot for Washington. Leon, the hitter, fouls one off the body and glove of Jason Castro. Sandy Leon took over defensively a couple of innings back. Skoll with that lead from second base. Little activity in the infield trying to keep the runner there. But that's an area, quite frankly, as I've watched the Astros in some games now in the spring, and maybe you don't work on it as much during the spring. I'm not sure. Sometimes teams will work even more on it. Is infielders trying to be a part of cutting down the running game?
Every spring I have ever been in, that has been one of the biggest things in spring. I mean, we would run drills, pickoffs at second base, daylights. There would be timing plays. There would be special early work with just second baseman, shortstop going out there with the infield coordinator, whoever that might be, and just working on the timing of the pickoffs and then trying to coordinate with some of the pitchers on, you know, some subtle signs that you can give to guys, knowing that a guy might run or we have a chance to pick this guy off when he's got his head down. But in spring training, there's a lot of emphasis put on making that pickoff play, letting guys know that you're going to be there. I know that during the course of the season, sometimes it doesn't always get used, but the fact that you've done it in spring and it kind of plants that seed in other teams' minds, knowing that you were active in spring training and there's a chance that you might be a little more active during the regular season.
That's always been my experience as well, that you see the defense worked on, and then sometimes the season starts and guys seem to forget what goes on. And talking about forgetting what goes on defensively, Carlos Pena on that nice, easy, high hopper, unable to get the play done. Up until this point, it's been nothing but good defense for Houston. And we've seen some plays that make you think, well, maybe it's shaping up this year.
It is, and you don't want to let one play like that discourage you, because there have been some interesting plays. I mean, some situations that don't happen on an everyday basis, and guys have done a good job adapting to situations like Laird coming across and throwing that ball to third base and having Tyler Green move in behind the third baseman on that great play and make that tag. So hopefully this will be a situation where we can get a ground ball and put that behind us a little bit.
Well, we've got a meeting at the mound.
And I think Keichel's done.
Oftentimes, this time of the year, it's all about pitch count. Dallas Keuchel has reached that point where he is done with his day's work. The Astros go to the bullpen, bring in a right-hander. And with the Astros leading it 2-0, we'll be right back. Rangers, or make that the Nationals rather, threatening here as they trail it 2-0 in the 8th inning. Sports Talk Live with Kevin Eschenfelder wrangles up some noteworthy sports guests that have plenty of buzzworthy opinions and play-by-play analysis. You never know who'll stop by on Sports Talk Live weekdays at 5. Nobody out following that error charge to Carlos Pena at first base. Runners at the corners for Washington. Carlos Rivero will stand in, a right-hand hitter, infield playing double play depth. Astros would love to get that third double play on the afternoon.
Minimize the damage a little bit. Tough situation for Zeid to come into, but at the same time, it's an opportunity.
Right-hander Josh Zeid, Z-E-I-D, works it. Pitcher number 4 on the afternoon for Houston. Philip Humber, very good. It threw 4 innings to start things. Fastball gets away and sails up and in. Zeid, 25 years of age. Pitched well on the spring. This is the 5th time he's taken to the mound for Bo Porter. ERA at 2.25. In his 4 innings of work, 3 hits allowed, 1 run against him, and he's picked up 1 strikeout. Now steps off the rubber. You ever see that play work?
Never.
Nor have I. And there are times where I feel like, especially that step off and hold the ball up in the throwing hand, that move, some of the spin moves towards second and third, I would love to see taken out of this game. Pitch is down and in, so 3-0. Zeid not helping his cause. Both bullpens quiet for the moment.
I agree on the pickoff moves. Simplify the thing, and it's such an unnecessary move. I mean, we've never seen it work.
Yep.
It seems to just, you're trying to throw guys, into a tailspin or catch them sleeping and whatnot, but just an unnecessary part of the game that could be removed and help the game move along a little bit.
Now the 3-0, not even close. That'll load him up with nobody out.
Yeah, not exactly the situation where you want to put the runner on to, make the force play all around the diamond, but got a burner, it looks like, coming up in Taylor. Could make a double play situation tough, but also increases the chances of getting a force out at home plate and then working there.
For Zide, that's the second walk in his now 4+ innings.
Probably gathering a bunch of information from the guys that have joined him on the mound.
Yeah, that meeting, maybe as a longtime infielder, you can talk to folks about really what goes on in that situation. Infielders, are they going to tell that pitcher what he's doing wrong mechanically?
I doubt his mechanics. I know for a fact that me coming over from third base and trying to impart some mechanical idea on a pitcher who's been pitching for a while is not a good thing. Usually going out there and just explaining it to him, the situation, telling him we've got his back, get a ground ball here. If the ball's hit back to you, throw it home. Just trying to give it, get the situation in his head and letting him understand what's going on behind him. So maybe that kind of takes his mind away from the fact that, he threw 4 straight balls, has the bases loaded and nobody out.
Zide continues from the stretch. Here's the ground ball, and it gets through on the left side. This will produce 1 run, maybe 2. Runner and throw coming to the plate. And it's a 2-2 tie on the 2-run single by Michael Taylor, who came on as a pinch runner in the 6th inning. And now runners at first and second, still nobody out. Zide in trouble. And that 2-0 lead that the Astros took into this frame is long gone.
Good piece of hitting. Find that hole right there, right past the diving Brett Wallace. Playing in like that, it cuts down on your angle a little bit, whereas if he was playing a little bit deeper, might have been able to knock that ball down and keep 2 runs from scoring. But with Taylor threat to bunt in that situation, had to cheat up a little bit, got beat by that firm ground ball into left field.
Will Rhymes, veteran infielder, will now grab a bat and pinch hit. Danny Espinosa had played at second base.
Still nobody out.
Yeah, I found that where infielders go to the mound, it is best to talk about what's critical at the moment. Maybe defense, where you're going, the reminder thing at the mound, where you're going if a ground ball comes back to you. To try to talk pitching, to me, is probably a bit infuriating for a pitcher who's been working hard at it.
I agree. And sometimes it's a good situation to go out there and just to, let them know you're there. And I've been in situations where, it's a good time for some of these guys to vent a little bit, to let out that frustration, maybe take it on the chin from the pitcher, but it gives him an opportunity to clear his mind a little bit and get back into the focus of the game.
One big play in the inning, the error committed by Carlos Pena as Rhymes tries to bunt his way aboard, and maybe more importantly, if he doesn't reach, move the runners up.
Looked like one of those situations where it's a win-win situation. If you lay down a good bunt and you beat it out, it's a base hit. If not, it goes down as a sacrifice and you put your team in a good position to score another run.
The Astros 5-5 with a couple of ties on the spring. They've beaten some good teams in the process, though. We'll get to those teams in just a moment. Still looking for the first out. Rhymes again with the bunt and a high chopper on the third base side. That ensures that they'll get no more than 1, and they just do get that. So the sacrifice laid down by Rhymes. Second and third in this 2-2 tie.
Interesting play right there with that ball bunted up in the air like that. Kind of in no man's land.
Yeah, if you're laying down a bunt, most of the time you're trying to work on maybe something soft. You draw the infielder in as far as possible while not leaving the catcher with a play. But that high chopper, really no way to work on it, but an ideal bunt.
Get it down early, give those runners a chance to get a good read on it and get to that next base.
1 out. It's the 3 spot for Washington. Now let's take a look at that play. Let's see how it sets up and why it can be so tough.
Well, it's a tough play for the third baseman because in spring training you've got so many pitchers running through that you don't know or you can't remember whose athletic ability is the best. So you come charging in expecting to get that ball, and then it's kind of in that no man's zone, and you feel that other body next to you, and the last thing you want to do is collide and not get an out at all. But that's where the third baseman comes in, starts screaming, I've got it, I've got it, I've got it, and makes that play at first base.
Yeah, if the third baseman is screaming 3 times, I've got it on that particular play, I imagine somebody else is saying, well, throw it, throw it, throw it, because that was awfully close at first base on Rhymes.
Yeah, that ball had a little bit of hang time. Got to be a little more urgent about it, but sometimes when a ball's bounced out high off the turf, has a tendency to have a little English on it. Wallace did a good job of making, securing the ball and making a good throw.
Micah Owings at the plate, and Jeff has talked about him, a former pitcher and a successful one for a time in the major leagues, but a guy who always could swing the bat.
Yeah, he was kind of a luxury to have in the rotation just because he could become that DH / your 9th hitter.
And a big strikeout. So that goes a long way to helping the Astros not fall behind here in the 8th inning. Still 2-2. Runners still at second and third as Owings gets caught looking. Well, quickly back to Owings, and you're a teammate, and you're on the bench. You're one of the bench players. And late in the ball game, the skip says, Owings, grab a bat. How's that handled by the rest of the guys?
Funny you should say that. Well, me being a switch hitter, I would only be annoyed if there was a right-handed pitcher on the mound and he called him up instead of me.
Yeah.
But there were certainly situations where we didn't want to burn. It was a tight ball game or maybe a tie ball game late in the game, and we didn't want to burn that position player because we were looking forward to maybe a possible double switch or things like that, or a pinch hit against maybe a closer later in the game. So we had the opportunity to use Micah in those situations where we didn't want to necessarily burn a guy that we could put on the field.
So where it kind of makes sense, but there are times when, and I've seen it, where a pitcher who could really swing it, and again, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but it's happened. He gets the call because he's viewed as such a good hitter, and a lot of times that viewpoint is because he's a pitcher. He's so good as a pitcher that you kind of leave that impression with a manager that, well, maybe he's better than the other guys on the bench. Most of the time, not the case. Here's a high chopper and a tough play at shortstop. VR makes the play, has a good arm, but that arm leaves the throw on the home plate side. Nice play by Carlos Pena to get it done. And the Astros may be fortunate to come out of the inning allowing just 2. We're tied at 2. Puts a pair on the board, one of those unearned in the top of the 8th inning as we move to the bottom of the 8th, all tied at 2. 6 hits now for Washington, 8 for the Astros. The Astros picked up their 2 runs in the 6th inning as they got a big double from Fernando Martinez. RBIs, one on the ground out, that by Rick Ankiel, the other on a sac fly. That by Fernandez. Fernando now in the bottom of the 8th inning, tied at 2. For the Nationals, they turn to their bullpen once again.
Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, it's really tricky when you look at the roster for the Nationals and they have 2 number 52s. We'll go with Ryan Matthews. He's a right-handed pitcher. The other one is an instructor, so I doubt that they've gone that far in the bullpen to bring on the instructor. Ryan Matthews will turn and work it from the stretch. And the first pitch taken for a strike. Fernando Martinez at the plate. Martinez with the swing and a miss. It's 0-2 in the count. Martinez still just 23 years of age. In his 8th game of the spring. He's had a home run, 4 RBIs.
Hit a bullet to right field for a double earlier in this game.
The only surprise is that the fence in right is still standing. It was a rocket. Is that off-speed change-up or splitter in the dirt?
Good job laying off that.
It's hard to lay off. If you start early as a hitter, allow the hands to drag a little bit, that bat's going to come through.
Yeah, if the hands are not back, you've got no shot. Do not want to lose those.
Matthews' fastball is hammered down the right field side, again off the wall, this time right off the base, and it comes hard right back to the right fielder, and no chance to go for 2 for Martinez. So twice he has raked that right field wall and has just 3 total bases in the process.
Well, the memo is going to get out that you can't get a fastball by Fernando. He's doing a great job right here on a 2-2 count. It's a heater down and in, which is actually a little bit up.
Yeah, right in that waist range and on the inner part of the plate. That's
quick hands.
That is a good pair of quick hands. Looked like the ball hit right at the base of the wall where the metal pole would be, and the ball just immediately shot back.
Bad luck. Would have been nice to start the inning with a double.
Delino DeShields now the pinch runner at first base, and he has some kind of speed. 101 stolen bases a year ago on the minor league level. So Fernando Martinez, a couple of rockets on the day in 2 at-bats. 2 for 2 as he departs, and now DeShields, no doubt with the assignment to try to run if he gets that opportunity.
Or if Van Kiel can find a gap, we can watch him start tearing around the bases and score a runner here.
That's the thing about speed, is it doesn't necessarily have to steal a bag. It just aids you so much in terms of the base running when guys put the ball in play.
Yeah, the threat of being able to steal will even change the hitters at bat too, knowing what pitches are coming. Pitchers having to rely a little bit more on their fastball because that pitch will get to the plate a little bit quicker and allow the opportunity for the catcher to have a chance to throw a guy like DeShields out. So it's nice to be up there as a hitter knowing that you got, the percentages of getting a fastball are going to be a little bit greater. Even more so when he goes to a 2-0 count like he is right now.
Alan Ashby and Jeff Blum with you. And enjoying a gorgeous day here in Florida. There's another line shot. Rick Ankiel hangs it out. Moving to third base easily is Delino DeShields. Still nobody out in the Astros, who gave up the 2 runs, one of those unearned in the previous half inning. Now have something going offensively, trying to pick up a win here this afternoon.
And that's the thing, too, when you get to a 2-0 count, don't miss that fastball. And you know how you talk about there's certain things in sports you enjoy watching, or something if I could do anything in sports, I would like to slam dunk or something like that. Oh. I wish I could have been that fast and enjoyed just the freedom just to cruise into third base or take 2 bases that easily.
I hate to admit it, I have that dream occasionally, and it is so realistic that I can slam. And at this age, it's completely out of the question. But basically, with my abilities, it was pretty much always out of the question.
Yeah, my dream died about 20, 30 years ago.
That long ago?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, the ability, yeah, I outgrew the ability.
I think humble pie is being laid out right now. Mark Krause at the plate. It was, Mark Krause who drove in the second Houston run with the sac fly, driving one to left field back in the 6th inning.
Good to see the Astros answer back. After giving up those 2 runs in the top of the 8th inning, come back with 2 base runners, nobody out, putting themselves in a great situation. To answer a ball club like this is a really good thing.
Runners at the corners, nobody out. Kraus takes a strike at the knees. Chance to be an offensive hero this afternoon. When you're wearing number 74, as Kraus does, you don't often get those chances to kind of shine, maybe be the hero on an afternoon, but Kraus has that chance.
All you got to do is make him remember your name. Then that number will change.
And he may not get the chance breaking spring training camp, but there may come a point when somebody gets injured or doesn't play the way it's hoped during the course of the year, and you kind of reflect back, who was it that impressed me back in spring training? And that's what you love to have happen. Kraus, with a good swing, fouls it back.
Matthews having a tough time throwing his off-speed pitches in the zone or trying to get these guys fish at it, so it seems like he's relying a little bit more on his heater. But with this 1-2 count, I wonder if he'll try and bury one and rely on his catcher to keep in front. Leon does a good job of knocking it down, catching it.
Big thing having that confidence in your catching staff.
Maybe get another fastball out over the plate right here.
2-2 count. And a swing and a miss. And there's that ability with the splitter or changeup to pick up a key strikeout first out of the inning. Let's go back to the 6th inning when the Astros did put their 2 runs on the board. Carlos Pena got it started, just the simple walk, but sometimes it's the simple walk that really creates big innings. And then the rake job by Fernando Martinez off the wall, the first of 2 times he's done that on the day. Winds up with a double with that first one. Rick Ankiel hung out another shot on the right side, but it was a ground out, and that produced the game's first run. Plating Pena also moved up the runner to third base. Mark Kraus took advantage and flied out deep to left field. Sacrifice fly and a 2-0 Houston lead at the time. Looked like it might hold up. But with 2 runs in the 8th inning for Washington, they have tied things. And a big error by Carlos Pena aiding in those 2 runs, one of the runs unearned. 10 hits now for the Astros, 6 for Washington. Here's a swing and a miss. Jason Castro at the plate. Castro grounded out in the 6th inning.
I wonder if the situation arises if Rick Ankiel is going to try and take a shot at getting down there to second base. Matthews thinks so. Thank you.
Well, it's a great play if you make it. If you get thrown out and you have it result in that second out of the inning, it's one of those disastrous plays. Well, Rick can certainly still throw. I don't know where he feels about things in terms of his running game. I want to tell you, Jeff, and I don't know if you were here able to see that workout this morning when the guys were throwing from the outfield and the infield, and it was all out. It wasn't your typical infield where guys are kind of lobbing the ball around. This was play it hard right now under Bo Porter time. And Rick Ankiel was hanging out some of the darndest line shots from right field that you ever want to see. The 1-1 pitch. Castro fouls back.
No, I think I had the opportunity to face him when he was with the Cardinals early on in spring training and early on in his career, and he was throwing BBs to begin with on his heater. It also had a phenomenal curveball. But for whatever reason, you know, certain things in the baseball player's psyche took over, and he lost the ability to throw strikes. But good for him to be able to bounce back and move his ability into right field, and knowing that arm is still there and he can take it out to right field and let that thing eat. Delayed steal right there, and he makes it.
Well, there you go.
Good read.
Jeff Blum talks about the running game, and sure enough, Rick Ankiel from first base does take off. Kind of curious as to why. steals second base. The infield comes in, and this ground ball shoots on through.
Play right into the situation. That's a beautiful thing.
If you play the infield back, certainly a run is going to score on that play. And clearly the Astros would take at least a 3-2 lead into the 9th inning. But with the running game and what it brings, you put 2 on the board and take your chances to get more. Robbie Grossman stands in. Grossman, after coming on as a pinch runner, has flied out in his only at bat. So Jason Castro, who doesn't start on the afternoon, comes up with a very big swing for Houston.
Those are tough calls as a manager. You've got a 2-2 count, so you figure you've got the hitter where you need him.
There's the ground ball where Washington was looking for it, almost getting the double play. As they get the force out, erasing Castro 4-6. 2 down now as Grossman reaches, and he's a threat to run.
And it's a dilemma. Bring the infield in, risk the chance of giving up a base hit and 2 runs, or do you play the defense back, sacrifice the depth and get the out and only allow 1 run in and get to 2 outs. So yeah, it's a bit of a gamble every time, and I mean, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe on a big league field it doesn't take that big of a bounce and get over the infielder's head, but
they are hard infields down here.
That's why you play the game.
That stolen base by Ankiel, the only bag on the afternoon for either club. Grossman with the lead does not go. Brett Wallace at the plate. Has the count at 0-2. We haven't seen George Springer here this afternoon. Terrific young outfielder, and has made a great impression in camp. It's just inside. Brett Wallace, 1 at bat on the day, struck out, that in the 7th. (4-2) Houston. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning. There goes Grossman as the pitch is grounded foul. Robbie turns it around, heads back to first base. Young man has been good in camp. Back Grossman hitting .400 on his spring. Again chopping it foul is Wallace. 11 Houston hits now. And a day that hasn't really seen the big swings in terms of long balls, and what the Astros had been doing quite a bit of is now starting to see a successful day with a number of hits mounting. Again, Wallace fouls it back with, again on the move, Robbie Grossman.
And today's been a good pitching outing by Astros pitchers. Hitters realizing that maybe the wind isn't in their favor or facing better pitching, doing a great job of, utilizing their at-bats, each pitch by pitch, not trying to do too much, taking advantage of some situations. So it's good to play the long ball game, but you can't sit back and rely on it. So it's a good thing to see these guys working counts, moving runners, stealing bases, and making things happen.
It's interesting when you talk long ball game, and if you're looking at the Astros, it's an area that could become really intriguing this year because of the names that are involved there. Brett Wallace, Carlos Pena, Nate Fryman, Mark Krause, one of those names. And of course, in left field, now it's Chris Carter. He is one of the first basemen as well. So you really have to include him in that group. That grouping of players could produce a lot of long balls.
And it's good to have that threat. If they didn't have that threat, then they would have to shut it down and be one-dimensional and play the small ball game. But Bo Porter's got to be happy to know that he does have those boppers in there, that he can, in certain situations, maybe sit back and rely on those guys for that long ball. And in some situations, it'll get you back in the game or it'll put the other team away. So it's fun to know that those guys will have that opportunity to drive those balls out of the ballpark and win ball games.
Again, the runner going, and again, Wallace fouls it off. So Robbie Grossman should be exempt of any of these sprints following today's ball game. He's taken off 3 times from first.
That's another beautiful thing about not being a burner and knowing that you're not going to get that steal sign too often, so I didn't have to risk exhaustion by sprinting down to second base too often on foul balls and things like that.
Yeah, but you had to run all the sprints at the end of the day. Again, the runner going. This one's driven deep to left center field, going back, and now on the track right at the wall as he crashes into the wall and making the play. And a nice play in center field by the Washington center fielder. Couple runs for the Astros as they lead it through 8, 4-2. It's a 4-2 Houston lead. We go to the 9th inning. And now, with the Astros putting the 2 on the board, Philip Humber was really good as a starter today. Worked 4 shutout innings and was in control all the way. And what he may be in control now of is that 4th spot in the rotation for the Astros. He came in talking about he needed to pitch well to maybe make this rotation. And it looked like at least a couple of spots might be open for Bo Porter's guys in the rotation. Philip Humber has taken a strong step forward.
And I think it's a good thing that he did, because now these other guys in the back end of the rotation that are vying for that last spot, they're realizing that Umber stepped up and did his job, and it creates a little more competition, because guys do realize that, and he is going to, guys at the, like Eli and Alex White, it's their opportunity to make a move and make a statement for themselves, because right now Doug Brocail, fresh in his mind, is how well Umber did today.
Yeah, and I think as a manager, you want to see that happen. The heat's on. Well, so what? The heat is what it's all about, playing Major League Baseball. So you got to take the heat so that you can do it during the spring if you're going to ultimately be successful in this game. Paul Clemens, right-hander, comes on to pitch the 9th inning for Bo Porter's guys, trying to hang on to this 4-2 lead.
And it's good for Bo Porter to see how these guys react in these situations. Yeah. It's not a big league regular season game, but at the same time, he wants to see how you're going to react under pressure, knowing that you have a chance for a spot and you have to pitch for it.
No question about it. I think these are the kind of games that Bo Porter would like to see, where guys really do have to work under some pressure, see how it plays out. The 1-1 from Clemens, fouled back.
Looks like his fastball's pretty lively today. Walter's a fraction late on a couple of them, fouling them off.
Zach Walters, left-hand hitter. Batting in the 5 spot for Washington. Ian Desmond started in that slot. Desmond watches the breaking ball close, but out of the strike zone. Two 6-0 for Washington, 4-11-1, and that one error by Houston committed by Carlos Pena led to an unearned run. Paul Clemens maybe a little unsure of the signs from Jason Castro. The 2-2 heat is high. Does look like good life on the fastball.
Good arm action, straight over the top, throwing firm.
Out of South Carolina, has not played in the big leagues. And you see that good size for a pitcher, 6'4". Most of the weights can be a little deceiving. Usually weights are entered a day that a guy signs and may never be adjusted after that. Line shot back up the middle. And so a leadoff single for Washington. Anthony Rendon will stand in. So Paul Clemens feels a little bit more of the heat. Pena holds at the bag at first base as that first pitch finds the outside edge.
Good adjustment right there, making that pitch on that outside corner. Get ahead early. Get you a ground ball, get you at least one out. Move along in this inning, that'd be nice.
What would be really nice is double play number 3 behind Clemens.
Nice one hopper to short and turn it over.
But the pitch in the dirt, so a ball and a strike now. Infield pinches towards second just a bit. Broken bat ground ball is foul outside of third.
Got him nicely.
Deep in the kitchen, that is your Frigidaire heater. Kind of a long swing, and that long swing will pay the price a lot of times with the Major League fastball in the hands.
Some of the bats that guys are using these days have a little bit bigger barrels and a lot thinner handles. I know that MLB has done a lot of testing trying to figure out how to get away from those bats splintering off and becoming projectiles, but guys still wanting to increase their bat speed are going for the thinner handle, lighter bat, therefore making the bat less dense, or at least the wood less dense.
Which way did you go?
I liked them thick.
Thick on the handle?
Thick on the handle,
really?
Yes. I crowded the dish, trying to take away the off-speed pitches on the outside, and I did not want to give the pitchers the pleasure of knowing that they broke my bat, so I enjoyed a thick-handled bat, and it felt good in my hands, but never really went for the thinner handle. I've got smaller, chunkier hands, so they fit a little bit better around the thicker handle.
Nobody out in the inning. Now there is, as that high cheese induces the strikeout. Leadoff single by Walters. He's at first base. One out on the strikeout, and it brings up Matt Skoll.
Again, that high heater looks so good out of his hands. You see his head pull off that pitch a little bit, too. It increases the chances of missing. And Clemens blew that thing right by him.
Funny thing is a Major League hitter. You see that high fastball to begin with. Somebody may have said 20 times to you, lay off the high heat, and as soon as you see it, the bat starts.
So true.
One out now. The double play has a chance to end things. Matt Skoll swings through it. Infield shallows up even a bit more now. At second base, Gonzalez, BR at shortstop. Third baseman, Brett Wallace, moving to his left, well toward the second base side. So they believe that Skoll will hit one. If he does on the ground, pull it a bit. Another swing and a miss. Clemens is able to get some swings and misses here.
These guys better get it ready a little bit earlier.
Sneaky gas.
Let's see if he tries to mix in an off-speed pitch out of the zone, but the way they've been swinging at his heater is really unnecessary. Or you just punch him out on it.
Go ahead and leave a breaking ball up in the strike zone. Take the call and move on to the next hitter.
Locked him up big time. That was a good pitch. got on top of it and got the right spin off it. That thing dove down in the zone.
If you see a hitter hit that pitch, it's going to look like a hanger. Kind of right there through the heart of the plate. But it really all comes down to when you see a hitter. In fact, I'll say this. If a hitter hits a tough breaking ball down and away, I hear a lot of people say, well, it was just a hanger. What it was, in my opinion, was good hitting.
Extremely good hitting, yeah. I agree, because you can't go up there looking for pitches like that on an 0-2 count. But if you do manage to square it up or get a hit off it, it's just because, like we were talking about earlier, having your hands in the right position to fire and letting them fire.
Good swing. Leon fouls it back to the screen. Looking for the perfect way to combine business and baseball, or a unique space to hold your next event? With state-of-the-art meeting spaces, Minute Maid Park can surpass all of your needs. Call 713-259-8800 for more information. Don't forget to ask about softball games and batting practice, for that matter. Breaking ball, another one left up in the strike zone, but another one taken for a called strike. And now with a couple of strikeouts in the inning following the base hit by Walters. An 0-2 count, and we could be down to the last pitch. Astros with this 4-2 lead. 0-2 got him swinging, a foul tip hung on to by Castro, who had a big hit on the afternoon, and that'll do it as the Astros able to pick up a win. They're now 6-5 with a couple of ties on the spring, breaking a 3-game losing streak. And Philip Umber was really the guy on the pitching side that had it going today. Nice 9th inning by Paul Clemens after allowing the base hit, but 3 strikeouts for Clemens. And again, the Astros will take it. Bo Porter wants to see this team win on the course of the spring, get used to doing it, and enjoy things. That final today, 4-2, the Astros win over the Washington Nationals, and the Astros with 11 hits on the day. We'll be right back after this.